J Squad.
We gotta find. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue.
All right. What is going on? I got Ben Z already in chat. Hope you're doing well. Let's get this thing closed before it plays something else in there. So today, like everybody else on the internet who's not talking about Ethan and his lawsuit, we are going to be talking about pirate software. Again, one of my favorite subjects I've covered. He was like one of the first real channels that I covered, one of the first ones we did. And I'm excited to see more about him because I don't like the guy personally. I think he's a fake nice guy. He thinks he's smarter than he actually is. But we'll get into some of that today. Go over some of those things. Let's get over into gaming. Ooh, of course my gaming capture isn't up when I want it to be. Boom. Right there. There we are. So I made a new character in Dune just to get caught up on that. The reason being is I was playing on servers with like close friends and things like that, and I didn't want their information to pop up on stream. So I just started another one on my server, or a different server, to have one for stream so that I could play, do a little single player. Maybe I'll get in with a guild. Who knows? So let's kind of start to get started. That's actually not the video I'm going to watch first. I want to do a little Kickstarter before I get into the full pirate software stuff. I had a video I wanted to watch that was interesting to me. History. No, it wasn't history. The news programs. Oh. Nope, I don't want that. I don't want that either. I want playlists. There we go. There's the video.
Then on July 14th.
So I've watched some of it. But we'll open up with this video right here. From concept trailer to full game, what happened. I saw the recent trailer for this game, and like I kind of got super excited. I got into the hype of it, but then watching the clip a couple of other times, it doesn't look like gameplay. Something looks off with it, and I'm worried about it being another oh God, what was that game? Another Day Before coming up, causing and ended up being a scam. Because you'll kind of see in this video, it kind of goes over the history of this game, and this game was apparently in productions like a while back. But let's watch this just to get us started before we jump into the pirate software. Do a little fun video. This was such a cool...
Added to Steam on November 14th, 2023. This game grabbed my attention instantly.
That was 2014. I didn't remember the original trailer that they're going to show from this. Well, I remember one scene from it, but 2014, I didn't think it was that far back.
Developed by Team Cloud Inc., famous for absolutely nothing, Ill is described as a realistic first-person action survival horror game. You're dropped into a sinister research settlement with one goal: uncover the twisted truth behind its descent into blood-soaked madness. While the visuals clearly draw inspiration from The Thing, the team has mentioned that video games were a huge influence as well. They're big fans of the Resident Evil series, especially Resident Evil 7, for its atmosphere and how genuinely scary it felt. One of their core inspirations is Half-Life 2, mainly because of its physics-based gameplay. For more psychological and terrifying elements, they look to the early Silent Hill games and, of course, Hideo Kojima's playable teaser.
The fuck?
I remember that. The one that never came to fruition. Nothing ever came of it.
Nope.
That's right.
Up until about a week ago, Ill was basically a myth. Yeah, it was announced, and sure, there were some videos floating around, but barely any gameplay. Almost everything shown focused on atmosphere, darkness, unease, and to be fair, it nailed it. The look, the mood, the tone. Fucking incredible. But now, they've finally revealed more. The previously barren Steam page is filled with actual info. A horror story set in what looks like a research facility gone to hell. gore, dismemberment, enemies that react to the environment and behave unpredictably. It all looks amazing. Yet,
See, it's one of those situations like looking back at the video, it almost seems too good to be true, right? it just seems off. The gameplay trailer didn't really look like gameplay.
despite all the hype it managed to generate, the game stayed in some sort of strange, uncertain limbo for a long time. Even though the game eventually landed on Steam in 2023, it had been announced years earlier, building hype of a trailer that looked so grim, so horrific, it grabbed everyone's attention.
Oh no, I'm not gonna make it. Shit.
2021.
Shit.
While it wasn't the first time Ill was shown, another teaser had dropped.
Hold on, hold on. Oh god, where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at? Please make it. Oh, he died down. Whoo! I have everything I need to build a base on this thing, and I would have lost it all. All right, let's go back. There he is. Oh no, he is after me. Go, 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 go. Go. Oh god. No! Oh. What's this? Oh, that's the first time I've ever been eaten by a worm. So let's see what this says. Jesus Christ.
You have been called by him, by Shai-Hulud, yet you live. This must also be of his will. Shai-Hulud has taken your soul and found in it no nourishment. Who starves God in his desert? Plain words, then. Pay attention. When the worm comes for you, he takes all that you have. Do not tempt Shai-Hulud. Fear him, or lose all.
I just lost everything that I had built to go to the next base.
God is just a fool. Yes, accept this once. Shai-Hulud is troubled by your hollow soul. He offers no mercy. What he takes is his. But I am here. I offer you this gift. Once and once only. Will you take this gift? A choice once made cannot be undone.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, at least I got a bike. Now I gotta go get all the other stuff, like every material. No! I even had a unique helmet. I mean, I'm at the beginning of the game, it doesn't matter that much, but while that's doing it, let's continue the video.
Just 3 days earlier, this was the first time people really saw what the project was aiming for, what it looked like, and that the team was actively looking for funding to bring it to life. People were amazed, but also skeptical. How could a game that looked this polished still need money? It looked like it was already deep into production. The video description did mention they'd be posting more proof of concept videos in the future, but this one didn't say it was a concept. Fortunately, people wouldn't have to wait long to get answers.
Oh god, okay.
This video you see here had hit YouTube on February 2nd, 2021. It was labeled a concept trailer and promised a lot. Hardcore gameplay, real-time body mesh damage, interactive environments, and a deep yet simple story. It looked incredible, but people were quick to notice this small mention that it was all rendered in real time using
Guess you could say you became food for the worms. Yeah, I definitely did. And literally all of my materials were taken, like everything. I have 48 minutes of power, none of the materials. Oh, look, I have that. Oh, good. So anyway, let's go back over to this, because let's come back a little bit here.
Didn't say it was a concept. Fortunately, people wouldn't have to wait.
Yeah, this is what I was going on with this one. I watched some of this part.
14th, 2021. While it wasn't the first time Ill was shown, another teaser had dropped just 3 days earlier. This was the first time people really saw what the project was aiming for, what it looked like, and that the team was actively looking for funding to bring it to life.
Clothes.
People were amazed, but also skeptical. How could a game that looked this polished still need money? It looked like it was already deep into production. The video description did mention they'd be posting more proof of concept videos in the future, but this one didn't say it.
So yeah, it's kind of the idea. It was originally when it came out, there wasn't even a game involved with it. So, and it's been forever since they did it, and then you have the new one, which I believe was called gameplay. Hopefully they'll bring it up later, and it just still doesn't look like it's actual gameplay.
It was a concept. Fortunately, people wouldn't have to wait long to get answers. This video you see here had hit YouTube on February 2nd, 2021. It was labeled a concept trailer and promised a lot. Hardcore gameplay, real-time body mesh damage, interactive environments, and a deep yet simple story. It looked incredible, but people were quick to notice this small mention that it was all rendered in real time using Unreal Engine and not actual gameplay footage, and that the game wasn't in full development. Of course, it was disappointing to learn that the game didn't actually exist yet.
Yeah, that is it's kind of little like misleading, because yeah, they do say it, but it very much looks like it's almost complete at this point, and then the game kind of disappeared for a while.
Yet. The concept was there, but nothing had really been set in motion. They were still working on building a demo and actively looking for a publisher or investors. Still, for me, it worked. Sure, it was just a proof of concept, but it looked raw, grounded, nasty, and it felt real. But of course, a pre-rendered trailer doesn't mean shit. People wanted actual gameplay, but at that point, all they had to show was a concept. No gameplay, no proof the game even existed beyond a trailer. Their Patreon launched soon after, introducing the team just 4 people, which is kind of insane, especially considering how polished that first trailer looked. Sure, it was pre-rendered, but it still reflected their vision, and for a team that small, it looked like a massive undertaking. Yet again, no doubt about it, seriously impressive if they managed to pull this off. Digging into their Instagram pages, you can see they'd been toying with this idea long before 2021.
Yeah, these guys look like they're super talented in general, at least at doing this rendered stuff. How is that going to transfer over to the game itself when it comes out finally, or when they need it to come out? Or when it comes out finally,
tests,
with the right
creature
phrase.
Animations, all of it scream horror.
That one was like badass. Hold on, we're going to go back to that, and I'm going to get fried.
Digging into their Instagram pages, you can see they'd been toying with this idea long before 2021. Sketches, tests, creature animations, all of it.
Yeah, that one he's on the wall, that's badass.
They clearly love this stuff. They even mentioned working with known filmmakers and contributing to projects like Longlegs and Welcome to Derry.
Okay.
Posts from as far back as 2020 show early animation tests for creature design, horror scenes, and even some gameplay experiments with animation and coding. While it's not clear if any of it was directly tied to Ill, it showed they were testing ideas, doing research, and most importantly, it showed just how devoted they were about horror and game development. Unfortunately, most people never saw any of that. If you weren't part of their Patreon, the trailer was pretty much all you knew. Still, looking at it now, there wasn't much doubt these guys were talented and they were passionate, and that was good news. But then
Cuttery.
the hype started to fade as there were no real follow-ups, no major updates outside of the occasional Patreon post. They shared some models and assets used in the trailer.
God, those are so
People
badass.
that they were still active. The topic of finding a partner kept coming up and the demo was always in progress, but it kept getting pushed back. So honestly, if you weren't subscribed to their channel or following them on Twitter,
To me, that's like immediately a red flag. Like it keeps getting pushed back. Like something that they're doing is not vibing with investors, so they're having trouble vibing with investors. It may be that just because they're nobodies and have no rep in the field or whatever you want to say, that that's what's happening. But I don't know. I can't say or know what was going on in the background.
chances are you just forgot the trailer ever existed.
Yep, I did.
Then on July 14th, 2021, they finally announced something big. They had secured
I
funding
need a
and
battery.
found a partner. That was huge. Not only did they claim the game was still happening, but more importantly, it meant they were officially working full-time on development. By November, the team had expanded to 8 people, with several freelancers contributing remotely. The project was also shifting to Unreal Engine 5, which brought some complications, sure, but nothing they said would seriously slow down development. Then in February 2022, they put out a quick update to reassure fans. They explained the game was still doing well despite the war in Ukraine, which complicated development.
Oh, they're Ukrainian too.
Outsourced
Or
work in
Russia,
Ukraine.
excuse me.
They claimed it hadn't impacted progress much, but things were clearly getting more complicated. On June 11th, 2022, another trailer dropped at the Future Games Show. And it blew up. This time we got some actual monster designs, and the horror looked straight out of The Thing or Dead Space. But once again, most of the trailer was cinematic. Only about a minute of it showed in-game footage. And nothing was happening. Just walking, no combat, no mechanics, just a really good-looking.
That's very deceptive too, to put on, like, to call it a gameplay trailer and only have a couple, minutes of gameplay? Or he said, how long did he say? Yeah, that's super deceptive.
Getting more complicated. On June 11th, 2022, another trailer dropped at the Future Games Show. And it blew up. This time we got some actual monster designs, and the horror looked straight out of The Thing or Dead Space. But once again, most of the trailer was cinematic. Only about a minute of it showed in-game footage. And even then, nothing was happening. Just walking, no combat, no mechanics, just a really good-looking hallway.
I made my way in.
Still, it was something, a small sign that the game was alive. Some people even started throwing around possible release dates for 2023. At this point, while the Patreon continued to get the occasional update,
we're studying.
their activity stopped entirely after their June 11 post. From here on, even Patreon updates started to slow down, and I believe was at this point that people really started to feel some sort of uncertainty creeping in.
Oh yeah.
In October, 5 months after their last communication, the team released a statement apologizing for the silence.
You see the thing where there's this, like, there's swaths of not being transparent, not, what's going on in between these periods of silence. Why aren't they giving information to people? Are they working on the game this whole time? Are they still looking for investors? They've got a team of 8, which is a very small team for what this game looks like. I mean, it looks better than, Clair Obscur, which is a different type of game, but still, like, graphics-wise. So it's like, where is this going?
They explained that complications had slowed things down and that global events weren't helping. Some team members were dealing with personal emergencies. Fair. Understandable. And to their credit, they reassured everyone that development was still active. They were prototyping gameplay mechanics, just not ready to show anything yet. Another 4 months passed. They posted small updates here and there, showing what they were working on, but nothing felt truly substantial. Doubt kept rising. Sure, they were saying development was going well and sharing occasional proof of concept clips or early animations, but for many people, it wasn't enough. These weren't playable demos or proper in-game footage, just bits and pieces that didn't mean much to anyone waiting for something tangible. Then, in January 2023, another update dropped. This one quietly admitted that the gameplay demo might not be coming anytime soon. Surprise, people were pissed. A demo was the #1 thing fans kept asking for. Not just out of curiosity, but because they wanted some kind of proof that this game was real and not just a bunch of fancy cinematics stitched together. They explained that releasing a demo for a project of this scale was a massive commitment. And while they weren't ruling it out, they also weren't promising it. Instead, they said they were reevaluating their marketing strategy. Then came...
I mean, I guess they're being transparent about it, but the fans are only going to wait so long for this kind of thing. Like you have to get something put out. Something, you know, we're at 2014 when the first one came out, and we're to 2023, and there's not even like a Grum's demo. Now, Grum's obviously took a lot longer, and he still hasn't even done well. He's already behind on updates, but it's starting to get like that similar feel.
June 30th, 2023. Ill was finally listed on Steam, the dreaded release to be announced. That alone got people excited again. Maybe the wait was almost over. Maybe it was finally happening. They also mentioned that the team was expanding and moving to a new office. Things were supposedly moving forward. But then, nothing. 2023 rolled into 2024. The lack of updates started raising real questions. Was this game actually being made, or was this just a highly polished illusion? The devs addressed it. Sort of. They responded to growing suspicion with a post trying to calm things down. They said the team had grown to over 25 people and was still hiring. They swore the game was real. If we weren't developing the game, they said, we would have announced it a long time ago. They acknowledged the frustration, especially for people supporting them through Patreon, seeing little to no updates. They admitted they chose a crowdfunding model early on, but now we're shifting toward a more traditional approach. Because of that, they said everything was under NDA, that even sharing small bits on Patreon could spoil parts of the story.
I mean, would that be the case? Because I mean, it's their game. I mean, I understand like not wanting to call the story, but to say that they're under some kind of NDA, sure, not to give out, you know, story concepts, not to give out coding stuff and things like that. But you're telling me you can't send like more concept art or some kind of video or something like that showing that there's something being done?
And honestly, that might have been a fair explanation if they hadn't been saying some version of it for years. By this point, for a lot of people, those reassurances started to feel hollow. Promises of trailers, updates, or demos had come and gone so many times that trust began to crack. Each new update only brought more uncertainty, highlighting supposed progress without ever showing the game in action. Sometimes they'd tease new features or mention having a new partner, but couldn't reveal who it was.
And that's like, who just doesn't, like, wouldn't you want to reveal that a big company or something like that, like, hey, there can be anonymous ones, of course. Like, you could have some oiler who comes in and says, hey, you know, I want to put money into this game. But if they got like a backing of some kind of publisher, wouldn't you want to like say that to build confidence in your brand or in your game? And then here we go. This is the new trailer.
Then, just a few weeks ago, a new trailer dropped. This time, finally, some actual combat. Well, sort of.
No,
like
yeah.
actual gameplay, but of course, still no release date. And now, another full trailer dropped again. Damn, It looks fantastic. What stands out to me is how closely it matches the vision they showed years ago. Not only did it finally give us a proper look at gameplay, but it also revealed more story elements and a bunch of new monsters. Everything looks gross, nasty.
I mean, like this scene, like I get it, it looks really good, but is this gameplay? Because there's portions of it that look like it's cutscenes. So is it cutscenes going into gameplay? It just seems like really weird to me. I think it looks awesome. Like this would be a great game, but with the history that I'm catching up with it, and I might be following this game before, I don't have a good feeling about this game now.
Disgusting, and honestly, it's seriously promising. And the fear that this game might never release, yeah, that's out the window now. It was officially revealed through PlayStation, IGN, and even the Steam page was updated with new info. And to seal the deal, they finally revealed the name of that mysterious partner, Montfish, the team behind Atomic Heart. That announcement landed.
Okay.
Atomic Heart was a well-received game, and after all, this partnership is what helped push ill out of the passion project category and into full-on production territory. So
okay, that gives me a little bit more hope. But like Mudfish isn't the one making the game; it's these guys. So is it gonna turn out to be as great as it was? I hope so. I'll play it on stream. Maybe one way or the other.
will it actually be good? Because yeah, knowing a game exists doesn't mean much anymore. That doesn't tell you if it'll run well or if it's going to launch filled with bugs, crashes, or broken systems. But really, just knowing this game is real, that's already a win. The atmosphere, the tone, it's too damn good not to be excited about.
Why is this
That
not-
said, I'm not blindly jumping into hype. Not after all the trash we've been fed over the years. I need more than trailers. I want a full
Yep.
gameplay demo before I trust it. Still, no question, this is the game I'm looking forward to the most.
How badly has the stream been so far? Not bad. I think I found everything I need for the pirate software, at least. If someone has, clips or tweets or things like that they want to bring up and send it in the Discord. But right now we're just watching a little short video before. But I think I got everything I really wanted to talk about.
Most right now.
So that's that video. I've gotten some doubts up. Let me get on here. Hold on. Did I just not show that video the whole time? Did we just listen to it? Yeah, it's already a disaster then. Oh, no one could tell me that I wasn't showing it. That's cool. That's cool, guys. But that's all right. Guess y'all are enjoying me playing the game. Anyway, so that's it. You got to hear them talk about it. The game looks cool. I hope it lives up to the hype that's building for it, even with its rocky past. Been there, done that. Yeah. I mean, it's, professional streamer. But now, let's get into the main event. I may have to get out of this area first since this game does not let me pause. So boom, let me clear this out. But we're going to be talking about my favorite dude, Pirate Software, and his... he's gotten hate again, we'll say. He's been been right back in the hate train. People are coming back at him. The first time that he brought up, I was, listening to another commentator, and they brought up, wow, this is being buggy today. Jesus, this has been buggy. Oh, this is a play. Hey, what's going on, Tired Kimoji? Yeah, there we go. Oh, nice. I got another one then. Pirate's been receiving hate, which he didn't actually. The first time he talked about Stop Killing Games, he didn't get a lot of pushback on his claims. You know what I mean? He got. Oh, that is a guy. What is going on here? Oh, we all look the same. That's something. You know, he didn't get a lot of pushback on it, even for his really bad takes and his misrepresentation of it. So it's going to be interesting to see everybody suddenly turning around because Pirate Software has shown that he is, you know, dishonest, a freak, multitude of other things. But we will start with Accursed Farms. I forget the guy's name who did Stop Killing Games, who's the kind of the face of Stop Killing Games. He put out a video a couple days ago basically saying that the game is dying. We're not going to watch the whole video. We're specifically going to go to the Pirate Software portions of it and listen to him because he makes some statements. Accursed Farms is what the name of the channel is, but I don't remember his name specifically. Names just, yeah, we don't do names here. So let's listen. What the heck was that? Oh, that was the other video. Hold on. There we go.
Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's become a liability for the campaign for me not to. Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Pirate Software, who goes by Thor. If your only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed.
I should be Accursed Chan. No, I think I'm fine with my name. I don't even think that would fit, would it? Oh, good. I need this, and then I'll go back over to my vehicle.
This video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about. I am not saying that lightly. I will prove it in a minute. Now, you might be thinking, okay.
This is what I like to hear. I want to see the proof that Pirate Software is a disingenuous little fuck who roaches on his teammates, lies, deceives, and pretends that he's somebody important.
Okay, so some YouTuber got something wrong on the internet. So what? See, that was my thinking too. The problem is how incredibly influential this YouTuber has been. Remember that list of coverage on the campaign? Well, best I can tell, Thor's coverage has been bigger than literally anyone else on those lists, except Asmongold. And the only video Asmongold had on this bigger than Thor's was about Thor's video. So for all practical purposes, Thor here has been the #1 voice on the campaign, and he's been lying about what it is. That's a bit loaded though. In this case, I'm using the second definition of lie. I have no evidence it's the first.
Created a false and misleading impression. Okay.
As we were building momentum, then except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork. This put me in kind of a no-win scenario too. Because if I ignored it, then a lot of people were going to get misinformed about the campaign. But if I did a response video, which is not something I wanted to do anyway, then it might look like drama farming, which could understandably turn off a lot of people from the campaign, because it's not about that at all. So I quickly made this video trying to clear up all misconceptions and concerns about the initiative with timestamps for everyone's questions, hoping the truth would eventually come out.
It won't.
I can see now that was a mistake. I should have just embraced the
hold up.
drama. To this
Give me a second.
day, I'm
Oh, there we go. I watched Harmful Opinions coverage of this a little bit earlier. He seems to think Accursed Chan was being too nice here. Yeah, well, I think that's I'm gonna watch Harmful's Opinions video on it on stream too. But I get that impression initially a little bit myself. Like you could go harder on Pirate Software. You don't have to be like Drama Farm levels of hard, but I mean the guy shit all over your movement, and he's a huge YouTuber. Fucking let him have it.
I'm still getting frequent comments and emails about the same falsehoods about the campaign that originated in this video. Well, now I have nothing to lose. If we don't get the signatures, then none of this matters anyway. So if this campaign is failing because of me not talking about this, then I'll at least correct history.
So I don't know if that video is fully up. I know Thor has linked a couple of clips on things, but it seems like he is misrepresenting, like he's trying to obfuscate what he said, or he's trying to kind of lie and be disingenuous already.
Here on the way down.
Pirate Software can't be wrong.
I'll get this over with and go over what I think are the biggest points of Pirate Software's videos. I'm not going to go over everything because collectively Thor has made hours of video on both me and the movement. I'd be here forever. Believe me, I could address smaller things too, and kind of already have. All right, let's start. Okay, point number 1. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games.
Sorry, my son's trying to be helpful and bring me stuff I might need for stream because he wants to be out here.
Initiatives is basically we don't want single player games to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want it to be about specifically games where it is a single player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists. Instead of
good, like I don't know that I'm completely on board with the entire I don't know how to fix this problem, right? I'm a dumbass on the internet who plays video games and watches dramas and argues with people online, but there is a problem like with The Crew where people were playing and you get the game just disappears and no one can do anything with it. No one can make their own servers or do any other things with it because the game is essentially dead. The people have put it on the back burner, never to be brought up again.
just targeting single player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. This is what I mean. It's harder for gamers to understand this because they come with so many assumptions. It's like that saying about doctors being the worst patients. So let's clear this up. It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff from earlier, and he was mostly talking about the initiative. Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they've sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their support. The long version depends on what kind of transaction is being made. As you can see, it's not easy to explain in a soundbite. But if you notice, we don't make a distinction between single-player and multiplayer games. That's because the law doesn't either. So why make this even harder? Both the movement and the law are making distinctions on how games are sold. Also, that part he said about it affecting all lives.
Part of me wonders, like, I want a schizo theory and say that, you know, there's Pirate Software has his own live service he's working on, even though he is not completing his current game. So, like, why would he completely misrepresent it? I can't believe that he's just so ignorant about how it works that he just pulled this out of nowhere. He at least had to have read the Stop Killing Games, right?
Service games? Yes and no. It would affect most live service games in the future, but the initiative is not retroactive. So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think this is about converting multiplayer games to single player. Once again, he made that up, and I have no idea why he thought that.
Transitioning an entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you gonna?
Yeah, and here's the thing, like he's talking about that, like I didn't even think this was the initiative, right? Even with just hearing what it's about, you get the basic idea of like, hey, we're tired of our video games just disappearing, our online video games that we love. We would like to be able to make our own small servers. It's just so fucking snaky.
You're gonna do that with Final Fantasy XIV. You're just gonna make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game. That's what they're asking for.
No.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player offline? No, dude.
Correct. No. This one is particularly baffling to me because I've heard most counter-arguments before, but until Thor, I've never heard this one. That we want the industry to convert all multiplayer games into single-player ones. I keep saying it, you never know where gamers are gonna take this.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it will impact.
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that.
See, yeah, I can agree that this is kind of where he's being soft. Like, this doesn't sound like Pirate Software is just not getting it. It sounds like there's no way this is how he turned into it. He either didn't read the initiative, which he has it, open in front of him, or he's maliciously lying because he is in the benefit. He's got that dev mindset, right? Where he just doesn't want to do the extra work that this might do. And and if a initiative did come out that says, hey, you at least need to have an end of life plan. Yeah, it might be a little bit more work, but it would be, it would become part of the normal process of making a game. I don't see how this would make it more expensive to give, like, I just don't know how it's done. Now that's a question, because I'm at odds with the idea of just giving out the direct server code. Or I don't know how that would work. I'm not a programmer.
That statement. It's almost
a game developer.
What the initiative is asking for.
Yes.
Those were streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had time to research?
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single-player experience, and then taking away support in the future.
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single-player games are advertised. What is he doing?
It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
And there are some people that'll say, well, just make it all single player.
Like
well,
you?
I've explained that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you'd have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. These are two different ideologies, and that's okay to have two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it.
But those aren't the ideologies. Nothing in the initiative is asking to convert games to single player.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Yeah, so why does he keep bringing it up? This is a total red herring.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting a new thing.
This is an argument I always see come up. Well, that's the terms and conditions that you signed up for, or the more popular one recently is you're paying for a license, and that's just such cope and bullshit. Just because we're having to deal with these terms and conditions now doesn't mean they don't need to fucking change, right? I've been complaining about terms and conditions for fucking years because companies write more and more bullshit in there to make themselves not have to adhere to anything. And it's right now the only thing that causes a terms of service to go bad is if it's something illegal, right? Or something like that. There are some cases where it can be really over the top, where a judge can overturn terms and conditions, but it's just I don't even know how to put it. We'll make that. Oh, my knife. Boom. Right. Knife, and I didn't even grab the gun. What am I doing? But yeah, it's disingenuous to what's actually happening.
Wrong now. We're not against them existing, we're against them being destroyed with no recourse for the customer. Just use logic. If we didn't like them in the first place, why would we care if they're being destroyed? He says he gets it, but he doesn't.
Let's talk about the actual bad business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game, and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the game or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that. The initiative is not trying to call that out specifically. It's trying to say that all games need to stay in a functionable, playable state.
Yes!
Which is not...
Yeah, I was about to do the same thing. Yes, that's what it's saying, a functional, playable state. That's not what you just said about the other situations.
The language that is being used to manipulate the play.
And you know, this was like, nobody questioned this. This was just Thor having a good take again. And it's so clear that, like, I don't know, I wonder how many of his takes that he's talked about are absolutely dog shit nowadays. Like, I want to I want someone who's like an absolute internet A-log to just like go back through and say and show how all of this is fucking bullshit.
Player, call that out specifically.
Okay, I don't know if he's doing this intentionally. I'll be charitable and assume he's not. But this is some serious obfuscation. He's complaining that the initiative isn't focused on another topic he made up. I mean, what is that logic? Hey, the initiative doesn't address how Capcom changed the look of Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot either. That may as well be what he's saying there. I am not aware of a game on the planet with a license agreement that says you are not buying a license. Our problem is not with licenses failing to inform people. Blizzard says they can take...
Yeah, the problem is with licenses in general, where we used to buy a video game and own that video game, but now we own a license. I think licenses were fine when they were in the older days, and you got licenses for companies because companies needed to buy thousands or hundreds or thousands of pieces of software for their company. But like when Microsoft started putting licenses for everything, like now you can't buy Word or any of those other documents. It's all a license that you have to pay a monthly fee for. It's like we got worse products for essentially the same thing.
Take away your purchase for no reason. That sounds pretty clear to me. Our problem is those terms are so hostile to consumers and the medium that they should be taken off the table entirely. This needs regulation. Forget video games. If you look at basic commerce for hundreds of years, when you paid money, you either got to keep what you paid for, or if it was a service, you were told when your access ends. The vast majority of online-only games do neither of those. The games industry is trying to upend basic commerce. I think you have to go back to feudalism before neither of those things.
Well, I don't think he's right here. It's not the games industry. The games industry is just been trying to fall into line the same thing that the vast majority of software industries have been doing for a while now. Like, we're not going to sell you our direct software. We're only going to sell you a license.
Things are true. Why even have consumer laws if you have no rights?
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Oh no! He wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't do that in big letters. That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out. I admit, guys, this part hurts. To see the biggest voice on this issue get it wrong again and again and again, then put that same wrong information on blast to a far bigger audience than we can reach. It hurts. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand.
Well, it's like, this is where you start to think maybe he is just a fucking idiot and can't see from the consumer standpoint. He clearly read it. You know, that's crazy that it's just a few files before that's exactly what they say, and then decided, no, this is what it's trying to do, not what it's saying it's trying to do.
What we're asking for. Now, to be fair, it sounded like he was getting a little closer in this video. Yeah, despite being called 2, it's at least the 4th video he did on this.
You want that to stay in a functional playable state, that means the devs have to release either server binaries or somehow carve off the game to be a single-player experience now.
That's better, but he's still talking about converting the single-player right to the end. He never completely got it.
Yeah.
So Pirate Software did not understand the initiative. Maybe still doesn't. That means the majority of his critique is about things it would not do, like kill all MMOs.
If that passes, enjoy never playing an MMO again for the rest of your life.
What? Like, look at this just feared language. You'll never get to play an MMO ever again. Like, companies would adapt even in the worst situations to be able to make money for it. They're not just going to drop. I mean, even on the live service, I personally think, and by looking at the market, that these live services games are starting to come to an end because they've been failing left and right. Very few actually get off their feet, and the big industries that make a lot of money, like first-person shooters and shit like that, are saturated. You know, who's going to stop playing Fortnite and Call of Duty to go play this random company's live service game and pay all the money for it?
Person that plays MMOs.
It really wouldn't. And I've explained why in that video, but the short version is companies would have to stop liking money for that to happen.
Yeah.
Lots of money. But his number one criticism is that he thinks the initiative is vague.
Incredibly vague. Too vague. Very vague. Damn vague. It's vague. It's vague. That is vague. Too vague. Vaguely written. Vague. Incredibly vague. Vaguely worded. Vague. 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 This is vague.
This goes on. Well, from Thor's perspective, his logic is pretty sound for this part. But the thing about logic is it's only as good as your assumed truths. And he's said multiple times now that he thinks the initiative is only about single-player games. So since he's expecting the thing he made up, but that's not what the initiative is asking for, he thinks it's vague. Because for him, it is.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games. It is vague.
Yeah, in fact, if we look at that long definition again, let's add a subsection just for Thor.
I understand that need for it to be online multiplayer games where you need servers to run them.
Category. So Thor is expecting this.
So with that, like, I understand the need for it to be in online multiplayer games where you need servers to run them even then. Well, here's the thing, like, when you see what's happened in the past with consumers is gamers who love it will make it happen, right? Blizzard was the big example of that. People were complaining to Blizzard, hey, we want to go back to like the original, you know, we want to be able to go back to the original classic WoW. So, and what did Blizzard say? It's not going to happen. Just get over it. So what happened? Someone created a server and remade classic Warcraft, right? Now, technically, yeah, it's against copyright. It wasn't, shouldn't be used. I don't think it was being used for money in any cases, but still, the players made it happen. The initiative, isn't asking for gaming companies to keep servers open. They're asking for people to be able to run their own servers if they want to, right? That should also be allowed. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not against you on that. I think if people want to make their own servers, that's why I like games like Dune. Like Dune, you can have private servers on here, and you can adjust the settings and everything else that comes with it to, cater to your friends group, right? Maybe you don't want to be on here with all the shitters and stuff like that.
Again, I don't know why, but instead he's seeing an initiative that covers all of this. That's why he calls it vague 50 times. The thought that we want what we're asking for and not the thing he made up seems to have never entered his head. The initiative is trying to stop the destruction of games. That's the whole point. It covers the types of games most in need of saving. If we only covered this tiny subsection, that would save maybe 1% or less of games that get destroyed. This would do almost nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there isn't one, but I literally can't think of a game that meets this criteria. Every game I know of with single-player content that's been destroyed has been designed to run server-side, not locally. Older ones like that tend to have the DRM cracked, which is not an ideal solution, but that does stop game destruction.
So, I have I guess I have a hot take when it comes to pirating stuff. Like, pirating is bad. Yes, it's illegal, but it's also something that, at least in the first world area, is usually a problem with the market, right? There are always going to people who pirate everything, right? That's just, I know people who are like that. But in cases where I think the vast majority of people who pirate when the market is making it hard for them to do it, right? Like I've known people who that's like they would pay for the stuff if you didn't, Netflix and all the services you have now, Netflix, Google, or not Google, iPhone, Disney, all these places, it costs so much to do it. So pirating has started to come back up in that area. Where with music, it was coming up because of a similar issue. It was so expensive to listen to all your musics that, well, for that, it was new software becoming available. But then they fixed it by having, music sites that would play all music where you could listen to radio stations. You could buy the music or pay a monthly fee and listen to everything. So the market can fix pirating if it wants to.
And newer ones with the Nouveau or something tend to have it removed by end of life. So I say less than 1%, but this might save 0% of games. I'm not sure. The initiative is actually not that vague. Though to be fair, some people did get hung up on this part. A reasonably playable or functional state. True, that is not 100% specific. There are reasons for that. You know how in law, police can stop a suspect with reasonable suspicion? Or a jury finds someone guilty beyond all reasonable doubt? That's because the number of situations you face are so varied that the law has to inject some common sense somewhere. It's the same with games. A multi-million-dollar MMO is a different animal from a budget arena shooter. It won't work making highly specific laws. That's one half of it. The other half of it is this sentence is an olive branch to publishers. I've heard complaints this isn't specific enough. Okay, but you know what the alternative to this would be? Here, I'll show you. The game must be fully functional and contain 100% of all features as advertised. So as a publisher, which requirement would you rather meet? More importantly, this sentence shows the EU Commission that we're acting in good faith and trying to find a balance. I think some of the people asking for this to be more specific may not realize what they're asking for. I know some won't believe this, but a hell of a lot of thought went into the wording of the initiative. I think it's almost perfect. See, the initiative isn't
well,
even
I mean,
bill. It's a
it's your initiative. You would think it's perfect, but but I get what you're saying. It's you're trying to appeal to both sides. An easy fix would be to add a clause to these stupid terms and service crap. If they plan on shut the server, that they need to get warning and let their game be pirated. uh, yeah. But it doesn't have to be pirated, right? They could put out stuff to let people do their own servers without them having to pay for any of that stuff. There's got to be something. Yes, it's going to cost extra money to do it, but I don't know. I mean, if they're okay with their game getting pirated after, I've seen other, smaller game devs back in the day do similar things. They're trying to give up on it, so why should they care? Yeah, that's the point. There needs to be, I do not like legislation in most cases, but yeah, this is very, now you're asking for too much, War. I'm not asking for too much. This is a billion-dollar industry. This makes the movie industry look minute in comparison. Like I said, they would adjust to it if something came out saying, hey, it just needs to be in a workable state. But even then, would they? Because technically, who's going to enforce it? I guess there would be people who could, sue. There might be lawyers that spout up with that, but I don't know. Usually you can get companies to do stuff for you if there's something that could be negatively affecting them, right?
Negotiation. Our side says we want games to be functional when publishers end support, so they need end-of-life plans. The industry's position is going to be against whatever we write and claim they need no regulation whatsoever. Then the EU Commission gets to decide who is more in the right here. The Citizens Initiative is the opening offer in these negotiations. Trust me, the industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars will make its position known to the EU. We don't have to make their case for them. So for this negotiation, simple is good. That's why we're straight and to the point for what we want. Then the industry will argue against that. Then the EU Commission might look for compromises. You don't start a negotiation with a bunch of compromises because then it will get so watered down you won't save anything. Oh, and that long definition list are actually logical extensions of the simpler language used in the initiative. It's actually kind of slick. Plus, there's a character limit on these things. The EU Commission doesn't want you trying to cover 50 edge cases at this phase. All right, so Pirate Software did not understand the initiative. But point two, he also did not make it easy for the truth to get out. I had never heard of him prior to all this, but during the campaign, I had dozens of people contacting me, telling me how wise and reasonable he is, how he's really pro-consumer and represents developers. I should really talk to him.
Yeah, and this is the thing, this was still when Pirate was in the good graces. This was before the roaching. The devil is in the details. Yeah, but the whole point of this is, like you said, there's a character limit, which maybe the EU was not the place to go. But you need to set, what they're looking for in this, and I got this information from listening to Chud because he's a Brit, is the difference between what he's doing in here and the US's gov.org or petition.org or whatever it's called, change.org, that's what it is change.org doesn't mean shit. The Congress or whoever, the government doesn't have to pick any of them up, even if it gets 1 billion signatures. There's no requirement. But the one here in the EU is it the EU or is it the UK? Either way, the one here, their parliament has to at least bring it up and talk about it. They don't have to give it any serious thought, but they have to at least bring it up and talk about it. So that's kind of in the detail. You're trying to give the basics of what you want to go to so that when it gets brought up in Congress, the lawyers can write more detailed shit to come up with it and actually hash out the details.
Great, let's do it. So this was my first encounter of him.
Oh shit, now this is actually really dumb. It's used car salesman garbage. This is shit. It's shit.
And this is why, like, I remember hearing this one. This is why he should have gone harder at him, because he's just straight up calling him shit and a used car salesman, a snake oil salesman. So I can agree with what's his name? Wrongful opinion on that, though I'll have to see exactly what he says.
Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is a horrible god.
I am going to actively tell people not to.
Direction. That's awful, dude. No, eat my entire ass. The level of stupid that I just had to receive was like sitting on Twitter for 12 hours. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass. This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit then. I drop the mask entirely. I have no qualms about that. They can eat my entire ass. The whole thing. That sounds stupid as shit.
Oh, yeah. I can see why people like him. It's like listening to Mr. Rogers. As you can imagine, we've been less than thrilled that Thor here has become the dominant voice of the campaign, especially when he doesn't understand it. Though I did find the used car salesman part amusing, since if people could read my mind, they would understand how much I dread anything resembling sales or marketing, or just trying to push things on people who aren't interested in them. I'm not exaggerating when I said I've hated having to run this campaign.
This is the most uneducated take I have ever seen in games.
Now, as for that one, I do have a bachelor's in criminal justice, which might explain why I'm coming at this from very different angles than he is. You know, focusing on people having rights and checking what consumer law actually says, rather than what's most convenient for publishers. Though I think I know where that comment is coming from because I've gotten it before. Here's what I think is happening. Online-only games have a client and a server, but a lot also have middleware that developers don't have permission to distribute to customers, or depend on microservices they have no control over, and the server software isn't even designed to run on a customer system. You can't just cut out the middleware and remove the microservices because they're integrated too deeply. That would still leave the game bricked and could take months to fix and be a lot of work. So I think some devs think we're saying all they need to do is just release the server binaries at end of life, and yay, everything is solved. And that's why they think we're ignorant. Well, for some games that could work, but not ones like these. Plus, that's not what we're saying. First off, we're not even mandating the methodology because, again, doing that could run afoul of copyright.
So why didn't, like, Thor bring any of this stuff up when he was going through it, or did he go into, like, this kind of detail with it? It just seems like he didn't do anything in any kind of good intentions to actually look at what this was or think why. Like, because this has been a complaint of gamers forever, since the dawn of live services.
Right law. Second, this whole diagram is looking at a game that exists right now and was never designed to have an end-of-life plan. Those might not be salvageable. So what we're saying is let's take a game in the future. No code has been written yet. It's still just a design document. Okay, so we have the client portion as usual. Then we have the server logic. Now we'll bring in our usual middleware and microservice vendors. Nope, stop. Now the EU says we can't just brick customer purchases like we've been doing if we want to sell our games there. So that means we can't keep making all these same deals the way we have been. Now we need to renegotiate with the vendors to allow for an end-of-life build with their software, or redesign things to make the microservices easier to sever at end of life. And vendors probably will renegotiate. Otherwise, they'll start losing sales to everyone who wants to sell games in the EU. But say a vendor refuses anyway. Then we need to go with vendor B, who will offer EU compliant solutions because they will be happy to take money away from their competitor, vendor A. Or maybe we need to abandon one of the microservices altogether and come up with an in-house alternative that is compatible with an end-of-life plan. And if the server can't run on consumer hardware, well, maybe now we code it in a way that's more versatile and can be compiled to run a stripped-down version with less features for the customer machine at end of life. Or hey, if that's not doable, then we scrap that, but still give customers some form of server software at end of life, because now we've planned for this, and informed them it requires specialized hardware, and they're on their own for getting it working. And these are all just suggestions. The publisher would get to decide how they want to comply. Thor is not alone in developers trashing what I just said. I don't know why, but some of the nastiest insults I've received on the entire campaign have been when I try to explain this is what we're asking for. This part in particular.
Well, it kind of seems like devs don't want to work harder. They just want to, make the slop, put it out and go. And, well, gamers are kind of getting tired of it.
Triggers some people to no end.
That video made me actually mad, like real mad, not like fake memes mad, like actually mad. Like I'm actually mad.
Upsetting people is not our goal, by the way. We actually want this transition to be as easy as possible for publishers and developers. However, we are stubbornly against proposals that won't stop commercial games being destroyed, because that's the whole point. Anyway, you heard Thor's comments for me. In light of that, I think I've been pretty diplomatic. I am just trying to get this initiative passed. If that means I have to get insulted all along the way, okay. So with that in mind, I reached out to him, not expecting to change his mind, but to at least clarify things since he got so much wrong. If you're gonna hate us, at least hate us for what we're actually doing, not for things that are made up about us.
I got a message from Ross. There were many other misunderstandings in your video. It's clear that you hate the initiative, and I doubt I would change that. That is correct. I would encourage you to at least hate it for what it accurately is. I do.
He says that so confidently. Oh, yeah.
So confidently wrong.
Yeah, you knocked it out of the park. You understood everything.
In other words, the customer is told explicitly that their access ends at the time of payment. Most live service games do not do this, which could run afoul of EU law. Most is patently incorrect.
Patently incorrect? Okay, for those who don't know,
I love that phase of hate it for the right reasons, right? I mean, you're obviously not going to get everybody to do it. Like, I'm pretty sure if Pirate was giving it a proper shakedown and saying, this is why I don't like it because I'm a dev and fuck you, or, not exactly that, but, giving it a good shake for what it is and not misrepresenting it, then, fine. He hates the initiative. He's a game dev that, that can make sense. You could be at odds. But just to completely misrepresent it and then, not talk to the guy about it who's going to try and, not even give the chance for someone to change your mind. Thor's just always right. So there's no need for any of that.
So much about live service games? That's like saying the Earth isn't round. He says verifiably false things so confidently. If his viewers don't know any better, how can I blame anyone for believing what he says about the initiative when he talks like that? It's incredible. And he does not wish to discuss this with me or anyone else in the initiative. Why not?
Would you consider reaching out and talking to Ross about it? No. And the reason why is because I found his entire statement over the YouTube incredibly disingenuous.
Yes, this issue which has bothered me since I was a teenager and I've spent 10 years on trying to push back against is me being disingenuous. Where is this coming from? Well, it comes from a slide I had in my promotional video, the half-joke slide. He hated this, and I think he may have a rather privileged view of politics.
You want to put together legislation because it's the right thing to do.
We did!
Not because you can convince legal representatives to do it no matter what.
It's both. These are not mutually exclusive things.
The idea that we're going to go through this because it's an easy win, but not the right win? No, dude.
Oh, God.
It's like, how does he know it's not the right win? Like, it's such a one-minded statement. He can't have more than one thought in his brain at a time. He can't think that both things could be true. We could find a way to make it easier on the developers and make it, more friendly for gamers.
So he misunderstood the initiative and misunderstood our intentions. And in his words, this is why he refuses to have a dialogue with the movement. So now I have to address it. Let's keep it basic. He calls me disingenuous, implying I don't believe what I'm pushing for, that this is some sort of con. That's uncharitable to the point of being silly. Besides video evidence going back 10 years, this is not a hard concept to grasp. I hate seeing creative works needlessly destroyed when people are trying to save them, and video games are where I see that happen the most. Of course I believe in what I'm advocating for. Maybe start from there. I'm a little surprised that didn't sink in.
The idea of getting it to pass with an easy win instead of pass because it's good is a problem to me. Absolute problem.
That's not how politics works. Do you think things pass because they're good ideas? Tell that to people who still have lead in their water. A lot of gamers are jaded with good cause. The industry has been shaking them down every which way. The perception that it's hopeless to protect our rights against billion-dollar conglomerates is often correct. If I told people this would pass just because it's a good idea, I wouldn't believe me. This slide is a half joke, but it's also some totally cynical reasons that are often true to let people know we have a chance and this isn't utterly hopeless. Do you think I or most people in the movement give a damn why politicians might pass something good? What we care about is that they pass something good. We don't need them to be...
Two things can't exist at the same time. Someone has to win and someone has to lose. Yeah, you can't just have a conversation. You can't just no, this initiative is bad because I, Thor, say so. Oh, it's so dumb.
Be true believers, we need them to pass good law. This is as soft as it possibly gets in politics. I think most politicians would find this slide funny. It sounds like he's offended I have a low opinion of the political process. Well, I'm the one in the trenches here. I'm not sure if he's upset at me or just upset at reality. Yeah, I am too. Anyway, he went on to delete my reply to him. Thankfully, someone backed it up, and I figured, okay, he hates this. It was thrust upon him by his viewers. I'll just leave him be. Well, that was a mistake on my part, because then he went on to make more videos about me and the movement, now reaching over 1 million views, still broadcasting the wrong information on us. I guess I'm being petty here, but this is alien thinking to me. Why would you call someone out, then run away from a conversation with them when they say there's a misunderstanding, but then go on to make more videos calling them out? Sir, that is not gentlemanly behavior. All right, I know this is going on too long, so I'll get to the final point. Thor misunderstood the initiative, misunderstood our intentions, and misinformed a lot of people about both. But the irony is, I think he would have hated it even more if he did understand it. Because first, he doesn't see any of this as a problem.
Gaming isn't in need of saving. No, it's not a form of planned obsolescence. It's called the game no longer being profitable and we turn it off. No games are being destroyed here. These are live services.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's, oh, God, I hate that. That's like such a shit mentality. It's not profitable to us, so we turned it off. Okay, but there's been many an MMO that's had a solid player base that isn't making enough money to keep the servers going for the company, and the company had to shut down. But gamers who paid for those services, and especially now paid for those microtransactions, paid for the horse armor, paid for all of these updates and things on the games, sometimes putting, thousands of dollars into a game they like over years, just completely loses everything they've given this company money for. And that's what what the people are having a problem with. Like, I still love this game, and I can go back to my old games from back in the day and play them. Now I have to find a version that'll work with Windows 11 and modern systems, but people will remake it, will redo it. You have oh God, what's it? What's there's a website that sells old games, and they keep it, like, they make a deal with the companies where they can sell the old game on there and they keep the game up to date. I can't remember the name of it. I'll think of it. Yeah, Good Old Games. Thank you, Kamoji. Always out there for my brain. You're the other part of my brain, you and Grizzle, and sometimes Vincent. But yeah, so I can go back and find. I saw the other day that they had Fear on there, and it's a game I never got to play, but I always wanted GOG, yeah, for short. I always wanted to play it, and I can go back to that. But a lot of these MMOs that had at least a small player base, no one can touch them ever again. Easier answer to that, a cursed. You're not making that work, Vincent. It's not gonna happen. Pirate software is dishonest. Don't put me in your brain. You're always on my mind, Vincent. It's usually trying to find a way to make it work between you and the commentary community. So I could see you on one of their streams and cheer you on from the background. But yeah, I mean, I don't think, yes, it's something that needs to be done probably from the beginning of the game, like trying to take World of Warcraft and put it in a playable state as it currently is probably a huge ask. But a new game to come up with, already be ready to say, hey, we're going to make this game so when it finally does end, players can still enjoy it. Right? That's all we want. That's all we really want.
Service games.
Yeah, you heard him. No games are being destroyed. Does he just say anything? Is that why he's popular? More to the point, and what I wish he included in his main video, is he supports games being destroyed.
A very strange demand from people in the gaming industry where live service games should live forever, whether in the hands of the developer or otherwise. And I can't get behind that shit. I think live service games getting sunsetted is fine. I've always thought that. And that's okay.
Of course he does, because he has a live service that's going to be coming out, and he doesn't want to have to keep it there forever, right? It's very it's very simple. He doesn't want to have to come up with a plan for a game he already hasn't finished. Well, that one's not a live service, but if his coding and other things for his current game that isn't out or anything to say about his live service game, then that's a lot of extra code he's got to put in there.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I have no problems with the end of a video game.
See, I wish he started his big YouTube video with that message instead of deleting it. Instead, he presented pro-preservation and not wanting the medium to die out.
It's incredibly important to me that we keep making games and that the next generation has the tools to do so that our medium doesn't die out. And it never will. And that's the whole intention of all of this.
So he doesn't want games to die out, except he's fine with that. I think there's some...
Frit put it very well when saying he compromised.
He's against killing single-player...
I have no problems with games sunsetting. Yeah, everyone else does. Yeah. Yeah, it's a... God, how could Thor not Well, okay. This is it. Thor has worked in the gaming industry as a worker forever. So he has that corpo mindset, right? Of, this is just going to be a ton more work. It's going to cost more money. It's unviable, which is exactly what a corpo is going to say until they're forced to do it. And then they're like, okay, here's how we compromise. We still make $1 billion. The people get to keep their games, and we're just begrudgingly doing it.
Games that only have a DRM check, okay, but then says people who buy single-player games with more than a DRM check are stupid, and he doesn't play those.
I don't buy games that are always online single-player games. I refuse to play those because it's stupid.
That's some tough talk coming from a fan of Diablo 4.
It's actually really freaking good. The game's fantastic. Itemization.
But that's a live service,
Systems
though.
design is great. Aurelian has been fantastic. The character.
Look at Bungie and how Sunsetting was received for the Destiny community. Oh yeah, and then look at what they did to Overwatch with with Blizzard. They just oh, this is Overwatch 2. Goodbye Overwatch, that had all of the microtransactions that people actually enjoyed and were worthwhile.
Actors are good. The voice acting is great.
So is he saying he wouldn't have played Diablo 4's single-player campaign if it didn't have forced multiplayer also, even though he's praising it and appears to be playing solo? Or is he saying that people that just wanted to play Diablo 4 single-player are stupid? I admit I got lost on his stance there, but what's more clear to me is we're not on the same side. Here's a list of some popular games that are all at risk of being destroyed at some time in the future. The Stop Killing Games movement sees any of these being destroyed as a problem, and they're exactly the kinds of games that would start being protected if the initiative passed. Now, a lot of these do have single-player campaigns, but I believe they all require more than a simple DRM check. He says over and over that his problem with the initiative is the wording, and it's vague. But there is no wording.
There's also Skullgirls.
Also saves games like these, because he's on the opposite side of this. If he's totally fine with games like these being disabled forever, well, guess what? That's the position of the industry causing this entire problem in the first place. And that's the final point. Thor says he disagrees with how we're going about trying to end game destruction, but he also disagrees with the goal itself. No, wait, I want to be fair. He's only against 99% of it minus that tiny provision he made up. So once you understand that, then of course it makes sense that he's against the Stop Killing Games movement. Because we're trying to stop killing games. Now, if you're in Thor's camp and think killing all these games is fine and are as things should be, okay, then it's just a values clash. And yeah, you'll hate the initiative too. I'm not trying to tell you otherwise. But if you think you might have been misled about what the initiative is...
Yeah, yeah, Grums and Pirate from the same stock. Oh, man. It's just... And people are calling Pirate, of course, a corporate shill for this, and I don't think that's true. I think he's just a straight corporate guy. Like, he's starting to run even his YouTube channel and shit like that as a corporation. He's got multiple businesses now that he's starting to work on and do things like that. Pirate is Uber Grums. Yeah, Pirate is Uber Grums. Oh, I'm not going around those guys. Fuck off.
Maybe look at it again. Tell others about it. Help undo some of the damage. There is still time. It closes July 31st. Thor lying about what the campaign is about, remember, second definition, has caused more damage to it than anything else I'm aware of. Now, I've heard some people say, no, it caused a Streisand effect and led to more coverage. Well, if you look at the signature rate, it suggests the opposite. I've also been told a big streamer, like in that group I mentioned earlier, you know, the kind that are so big they could end this, avoided talking about Stop Killing Games because of Thor's take on it.
Oh, wow.
At the time he did this, Pirates was a well-respected developer looked up to by the internet community for having good takes on gaming. And I was, and still am, the weirdo with no credentials other than not wanting games destroyed. So with Thor being seen as the smartest guy in the room and firmly against the initiative, I think that led some...
I know, why is it always the ex-Blizzard devs who are the most shitty ones? I think it's all of that breast milk that they drink. I don't think that's good for the male mind, and it causes weird things to happen.
Internet figures to not want to touch this, lest they be seen like a fool in the eyes of Thor. Now, as I understand it, that risk may have lowered since then, but it doesn't really matter if nobody else talks about it, because he was there to kill the momentum when we needed it the most, and we never got it back. Okay, that's it on him. I did not enjoy having to do that segment, but I've had to do a lot of things on this campaign.
All right, so that's his talk. It's also the biggest section in his video. But that's his talking points on what happened with Stop Killing Games Yeah, it's only got until July, and apparently it's gotten like over 100,000 more signatures. I just still don't think it's going to go through. Like if it was in the United States, maybe, where I guess there would be more signatures. But then again, even if you went on to change.org, it doesn't mean shit. No one's going to push it forward. That's a whole different lobbying system. So anyway, we'll go in here because the next section, Pirate Software's response. Boop. So I've been reading through all the posts against me over my stance on Stop Killing Games initiative. Tons of people calling me a liar or that I misrepresented the initiative. Also a lot of content creators dogpiling on this to get their pound of flesh. Already straight into the victimhood. Like, just straight up, they're just making drama about me. Let's dig into what I actually did and said. I put out 2 videos on August 6th, 2024 and August 7th, 2024. These videos are linked at the bottom of this post. Many people have not watched them and are just calling me a liar or attacking my character. Give the videos a watch. Now, what did Stop Killing Games say? What did the buddy say? He said there was 4 videos. Poisoning the well. Yeah, immediately poisoning the well. Monetization on these videos is disabled so that no one, I don't care if you monetize it or not, so that this is not some ploy to increase revenue. Oh, look, I'm such a good guy. I just care about this subject and have rightful concerns as a person working in this space. In the first video, I go through what an initiative is, how it's not law, and how it's a starting point for this entire process. This helps people understand that this is to start a conversation for change and can adapt later. But did he? Like, because his whole thing was like, don't ever even come close to, like, don't follow it at all. I'm not going to follow it. In fact, I'm going to actively tell people not to. So he he clearly stated, I don't want to have the conversation. This just needs to get shut down immediately, and I'll do what I have to shut it down. I then go through the initiative and some of the goals from the official page for it. I then talk about the repercussions of them should they be implemented as written. All the games need to be left in a functional, playable state. Well, that's what they're saying. Like, what about you talking about the functional playable state is right? Next, I bring up the crew and walk through the business around it, the sequels, and the size of the player base at the time of the sunset. I did this because it was called out by this initiative as an example of publishers destroying a game. I harshly critique. So what I'm getting at is that he wanted to co-op the moment, is what I'm thinking of at this point, but I'm fresh on this. You talking about Pirate wanting to co-op it? Maybe getting ahead of it. Yeah, we'll keep going through. It may change your mind. Like, he's clearly being dishonest, and I'll bet anything these videos are clipped. In fact, I think there's a little thing showing that stuff has been deleted and clipped from here. I also harshly critique, and what he means is that he's a snake oil salesman, or what did he say? A car salesman, which is very common in the U.S. for being a dishonest person, right? It's, you don't want to talk to used car salesmen or car salesmen in general. I also harshly critique Joss for his wording on the video, saying the disparage of lawmaking process and lawmakers, which doesn't benefit players or this movement in any way, right? He was saying it was a joke. Whether you take it as that way or not is fine. In the second video, I talk about potential scenarios where a studio could be abused if the initiative was implemented as written. It adds new paths for abuse, and that needs to be discussed to help hone the initiative into something that would do good without doing harm. Yeah, but okay, so it has to do absolutely no harm. This this is like a fairy tale scenario. There's a give and take system, right? Yeah, it's not going to do harm to gamers. It's going to give them more of what's going on, because the harm to gamers is that they're losing access to the games that they love when a developer decides they're not making enough money off. Ooh, voice crack. When they're not making enough money off of it. So why gamers feel like they're being harmed, and they want to come to the table and say, or at least this initiative says that gamers are being harmed by losing their games. We want to come to the table and talk about it. Why is that a wrong thing? Because it could do harm to the gaming industry. It's going to kill the whole industry. Live services are going to go away, which is absolute bullshit. They'll just change. I then explained that very few people in the games development space can actually discuss this from the other side due to the fear of losing their jobs. A studio is much safer and silent, distant. Who is Pirate Software discussing with this? Not a Curse Chan, it seems. No, he's trying not to mention him at all, very clearly. Scott is the Ross Scotts is the guy. Ross is the guy he's talking about. He's specifically talking to the haters that are out there, though. He's trying to say, no, I was right. You guys are all wrong. I'm the smartest guy in the room. He got you to say it. He did. Vincent, you're gonna make that word not happen. Vincent. You're looking for a timeout. And then explain that few people in the games development space can talk about it. Okay, yeah, sure. Developers aren't going to talk about it because they want to work for the companies that they're in. They can still silently be for it, or even send out anonymous support of it, right? My main issue is the initiative is that it is broad in its approach to change the games industry, and the exact language of the initiative, not the FAQ, requests that all games stay in a functionable, playable state. This is not feasible for all games at a technical level, and could potentially restrict developers from making online-only games like MMOs, MOBAs, and user-generated content games in the future. I mean, can he show us where that is a thing, where that's true? That is not exhaustive, and it doesn't matter if you do or don't like those kinds of games. Right, it doesn't matter, but this is, as even Pirate Software said, a thing where we start talking about it, so we can come up with a hard stance. Like, even when you're coming into the way I think it is, and the way I've heard people talk about it, is like when you're coming into like some kind of legal case or anything like that. Let's go with the Ethan case, for example. You're gonna push, or even, here's a better one, the Alyssa McConte, because that's more gaming, and I hate talking about Ethan and all those other guys. It's when she paints Smash JT as this malicious, person. They're pushing it to the very limits, and then when the court hearing goes through, then it's going to get worked down by both sides to what is the problem. Is it, it could get thrown out, of course, but if it does go to court, it may be that he's not maliciously or knowingly causing the harassment to Alyssa. It could be that he's just showing gross negligence in the fact that he knows, like, that he's admitted that this kind of thing can cause harassment, but he still does it ignorant to the fact that she is getting massive amounts of harassment for it, right? Same thing with this initiative. They're taking like, hey, we need it to be functional and playable. So let's talk about what that means in the gaming industry. Effectively, this has the potential to restrict future developers from making kick-ass experiences because it locks a weight of their designs. Sure, I guess. After seeing how he's developing his game, I don't know how much knowledge he actually has in the industry, because I don't think he actually did any like programming or dev work for Blizzard. He was like a bot hunter or something like that, right? To clear it up, the disinformation about my character. I left AAA in 2016 because I fucking hate how the industry is now. Wow. And prefer indie entirely. I don't like Blizzard, and I would have stayed working, there. That's why I quit. That's the entire point. Fuck AAA and what many studios have turned games into. Outside of that, no, I am not financially supported by live service games. No, they're not saying you're financially supported by live service games. They're saying that you're compromised because you are supporting a live service game, right? It's with Ludwig, right? That they're coming there. There's a work in the progress for a live service game. We haven't seen anything about it. But that's what they're saying. Like, hey, you're compromised on this because you're currently in the works with a live service game. So it's giving you that, you have that idea, like, I don't want to add this stuff to my game. Outside of that, so another, like, disingenuous, like, he has to know that's what they're talking about. The single player RPG, and I make a single player RPG, and I am the director of strategy for Off-Brand Games, which is currently making a live service game, as he fails to mention. In that position, I am paid minimum wage by my own decision. I don't give a fuck what you were paid in that position. It's still a game that you are probably going to profit from, right? To further this, the games were published are all playable offline anyway, because their gameplay loops are not only based on interplay interactions. Not all games are like this, and not all games can be like this. So this is him going back to being like, it has to be a single player experience, when that's not what they're fucking saying. He already still doesn't understand, or is maliciously going against what they're saying. You know, they want, like, if a community wants to put the game on a server and play with their friends, and they're the ones that pay for the servers and keep it up. Hold on, I have a funny video to link you on Discord, relevant to the convo. Okay, I'll pull it up here in just a second. No, I've not been running away from the discourse. You have. You won't fucking talk to the guy. The very definition of fucking running away. You know, you said you won't talk to him because you don't like the initiative and you don't like the way he talked about the initiative. So yes, you are running from a talk. I've talked about this for around 8 hours on stream yesterday. I never took my videos down. We're going to find out that is a lie. Or at least that's what I've heard. I've pulled up the Reddit that supposedly says that he is deleting stuff. And I have not discussed the initiative in 10 months, and it's been since the release of those videos. Yeah, but you are one of the largest you are the largest gaming dev streamer that's out there, right? You have a lot of reach, and until recently, you were a trusted source. Like they said, major people didn't want to cover this because you had made your take and people believed you. So so this is like, oh man. For all those who will scream he's doubling down, well, I mean, you are. Yes, I damn well am. I give a shit about this initiative and what it means for games, developers and players in the future game. You don't give a shit about the players because you're not even willing to have the conversation, because this is trying to push back against the players, whether you agree with the internal things of it or not. To finish out, just because I don't support this doesn't mean you should blindly follow me. Well, I mean, I don't think a lot of people do anymore. You also shouldn't blindly bash me. No, we can fucking, you say dumb shit on the fucking internet, you're a million fucking YouTuber, multi-million subscriber YouTuber, and huge Twitch streamer. So no, yeah, we can fucking criticize you, and you can get the fuck over that. Read out the initiative, decide for yourself, apply critical thinking, and don't outsource it to others. As always, stay roaching. So before I watch these clips of his, let's check out this video that Kamoji just put in. What is this? Hold on. No, don't do that. Open up.
I've actually been thinking about taking Meet Your Maker down, and it's not because I don't love that game. because I do. It's because they've publicly sunset it, which means the game is no longer going to receive any type of updates at all. It's a dead game, and it makes me really sad because I love Meet Your Maker. I think that game is phenomenal. I think it had a huge amount of promise. It was an obsession of mine for a great deal of time. I thought that what they were designing was very compelling and very interesting, and it died. Phenomenal freaking game. And it didn't get enough of a user base. It tried to adapt to become a better game, and it did become a better game, and it still never garnered a user base. Brilliant game. I even loved it because it has brutalist style environments, which I love brutalist style. Very much so. I likely won't remove the channels, but I will remove the role from being able to be selected. So the people who are still into the game will be in there, but bringing new people into the game is you're kind of pushing them to play a game that is dead. You know, they've sunset it. They said that they've sunset it. They're not even making new cosmetics for it. They publicly announced that it's over, you know. First you've heard of the Meet Your Maker game? Yeah, let me show it to you. I actually love this game. I really do, and it just makes me sad that it's dying. And it's mostly negative now because people are very upset. They're upset it's getting sunset. But the idea is that you build dungeons, other people build dungeons, you run those dungeons, and other people run your dungeons. You get points for killing them in your dungeon. They get points for killing you in their dungeons. You get points for running their dungeons and succeeding. It is one-hit death, Quake style, unlimited replay.
So it's a game that he loves, and he would like to have seen that it got a bigger player base. But the Stop Killing Games initiative would give him a chance to maybe run his own servers amongst his people. Like, Thor runs his own servers in games, or he plays multiplayer games and he runs guilds. Imagine, is that mine? No, that's not mine, but it has stuff in it that I may want. But, you know, this could save his initiative, or save that game so he could play it for years to come.
It's a phenomenal game. It's very goddamn cool. I love this game, and it just rips me up, man. To see that team just, like, make something that was so unique and so interesting and so within my wheelhouse of types of games that I really like, and just see it fail it'd just be sobering. It's just sad, man.
I mean, like, yeah, it's sad for a lot of those people, and if there was some way that people could make their own server who loved it, then yeah, it would go there. We'll get into the comments here soon.
It really is. Such a good game. Such a cool game. And not really what you would expect. I still have my Harvey keycap, though. Yeah. Behavior couldn't sell $20 skins to Meet Your Maker. It wasn't even about that, dude. They couldn't retain a player base in this game. The biggest problem with it is it was really compelling, but it didn't garner an audience quickly enough. And it just kind of slowly melted, which was upsetting. And then I revived it. If we go to SteamDB and we go look up Meet Your Maker, and we go pull it up and we look at
he revived
year.
it.
This here was us talking about it, and me talking about it on stream and being like, you should play this game. Like, we did that, and it still loses its user base. I tried, because I love this game. I really do, but it can't hold an audience. And it's sad, because it's fun. It's a really interesting game. Game art doesn't look that appealing. That's always going to be subjective, though. I think it's very brutal, which is sort of the point with it. We're making a change to the Expeditions reward track. Moving forward, the track will continue to include enhancements in currency, but new cosmetics and decals will no longer be added. End of track rewards will continue to grant missed cosmetics and decals from previous seasons until you've unlocked them all. No more, and that's it. Oh, it looks like they put out another one. What is this? What's next? It's been a year since Meet Your Maker was released worldwide, a year in which we've explored the furthest reaches of the wasteland together. Over that time, we've been working hand in hand with you to create something special, a unique game, inhabited by a wonderful community of players. The whole team is extremely proud of everything we've achieved together, and we're grateful for our passion, dedication, and continued engagement. You're the very reason we make games. We feel like now is the right time to shift the team's attention towards new and exciting projects within the company. Yeah, that was back in March of 2024, and this was March 18th of this year. So a year ago, they moved to new projects. And then this year, they stopped doing cosmetics. It's dead, dude. And it sucks, because, like, I love that game. I really do. I always did. I was excited for it before it came out. I got to play the beta for it. I was very into the beta. I normally don't get that excited for a lot of games. This one I was, and it's sad that it died. Harvey started to walk around. I know, right? Yeah, there are very few games that I get actually excited by. This was one of them. It was awesome.
All right. Let's fucking go here. Hold on. I need to... let's do... Oh, it's that. Oh, come on. Bear with me here. No, not that one. That one. Move this over here a little bit. Can I make these bigger? Yes. Good old Pirate Software 2 days ago. For those who don't understand what MYM is and are spamming the comments. This is a user-generated content game where you make your own dungeon and other people play it. Without a large player base, the game becomes instantly stale due to the lack of dungeon variation. The community has all but abandoned it, so preserving the game would not keep it playable or enjoyable. How do you know that? How do you know that? Without that, it is a hollow husk and unable to be played to any real extent. This isn't about preservation, it's about waning player base on a game I enjoyed. You cannot preserve games' true intentions by saving the files. You cannot preserve the essence of the game like this with a small group of players. So, hey, you small group of players, fuck you. You just don't matter, even though you loved this game. It needs thousands or more active players to give the actual experience. Imagine if there was a community server. Crazy, huh? Comments are pruned as of yesterday for any mention of current thing in case anyone... Of course he is. God, if only there was a way to keep an online game from being killed. Sadly, that's impossible. I guess we should just sit on our hands and do nothing. Maybe even discourage others from doing anything about it. I think I'll start a movement, but I'm going to call it Stop Sunsetting Games. This video is pure irony. I wish these was a petition to preserve the community that created by some guy for spreading misinformation about the petition. How about opening the source code? Of course, that's what people say, but I don't know that that's the actual answer to it, right? For anyone who can't see the like-dislike ratio, okay, you can't see the like to dislike ratio, so this is dumb. Thor really working overtime to delete comments criticizing him. If he worked this hard at his own game, it might be out this decade. Let's go. Yeah, you reap what you sow. Imagine the options to play private servers. If only there was something to fight against. Stop deleting comments. Oh, really? It makes you sad? So yeah, oh my goodness, a game he loves died. I mean, and he's thinking there's no other way that it could have been taken care of. Small communities can't be built around this in any way.
I have to be honest with you.
Oh no, not now. Later. Yeah, you too. So let's pull up these videos. That was good, Kimoji. I like that. Hypocrite software. Let's close that one. Opening a new link. Okay.
Hi, my name is Jason Thor Hall, also known as Pirate Software Online. I've been in the gaming industry for about 20 years. I used to work at Blizzard Entertainment, then Amazon Game Studios, and now I own my own studio, Pirate Software, by the same name, which is an indie studio, and I've been here for about 8 years now. I also run a massive community. We've got about 180,000 people in Discord, and most of what I do is try to teach other people how to make games, teach them that they can make games, show them the tools to do so, and try to do everything without any paywalls or bullshit in the way. It's incredibly important to me that we keep making games and that the next generation has the tools to do so that our medium doesn't die out. And it never will. And that's the whole intention of all of this. So with that in mind, that community brought me this and tried to get me to sign it. And I don't want to. Number one, I can't because I don't live in Europe. But number two, I wouldn't sign it even if I could. And I'm going to kind of go through this and try to explain the reasoning as to why that would be the case.
Okay, so this is his, I guess, the main video. But we already know that there is 4, not 2 million people viewed it.
Without all of the internet hate machine that's grown up around it. So let's go.
Internet hate machine. This is always, dude, this is like the king of poisoning the well. It's always the internet hate machine. It's, I think we're going to get into it. He starts calling like Critical's audience hate machines. Or I wonder if he called like Josh Strife, Hayes, and Critical talk to him. And I wonder if he called Josh's fucking player base, that way. So he makes a comment. We'll read it.
It's an issue to me. First things first, what is an initiative? So an initiative is actually not law. It is something that you put together so you can put it up in front of representatives and they can start the conversation.
The reason why I have a problem with Stop Killing Games is specifically it starts the wrong conversation. If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future, this ain't it. And the reason why is specifically on this initiative, under its own description, it says, this initiative calls to require publishers that sell or license video games to consumers in the European Union or related features and assets sold for video games they operate to leave said video games in a functional playable state. Specifically, the initiative seeks to prevent the remote disabling of video games by the publishers before providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without the involvement from the side of the publisher. This isn't always possible in all video games, and it doesn't call out the specific practice that this is supposedly trying to defeat. It is incredibly vague and will damage all live service games. How would you keep League of Legends in a functional playable state? You'd have to re-architect the entire game. The game is what is called client-server. So in client-server models, there's a server and there's a client, and all of the math, all of the game, everything happens on the server. The client just displays it. And the reason we want to do it that way is so that you can't teleport around and do a billion damage. You don't trust the client. You trust the server. The client just displays what it's told, right? So if we wanted to re-architect this, we'd have to take all of that server logic, push it back out into the client, and somehow make...
And see, here's the thing. He's absolutely. Did he miss the part about future games? Right. Did he miss the part of future games? Yes, that's their thing. He's not mentioning. But also this. There are games that let you run your own servers. He's acting like players don't understand how to run a server and that you can't have the client on the server, right? This is completely something that can be done and has been done in the past by people who want to play the game. And yes, you don't want it on the client because people will be teleporting all around for League of Legends. But like with the what is it called? The Warcraft one, they still did patches and updates and tried to fight against cheaters and everything else, just like any other company would. People who would pick up these servers and stuff like that and love these games will still do those same things to try and make it fair, right?
Make that playable in a multiplayer only video game. That doesn't make sense to me. So this isn't going to work for all games. Why is...
It's like he can't be so dumb that he doesn't think that players can't run their own servers, right? That's because that's what it seems like. He's just absolutely unintelligent in the idea that players have no idea to run your own servers, or there's no way a small player base could have a couple thousand people on a server playing one of these games.
Is it calling out all games? And it's really easy to say like, oh, you know, that'll get worked out down the line. But we're dealing with government here. If we're going to be putting up these types of ideas specifically in front of government, we need to be calling out the right issues, especially if you don't have precedent set. Because now you're going to be setting precedent on something that doesn't make any sense with people that may not understand the nuance of our industry, all in the name of saving games. I can't agree with that. So let's go into why this is happening. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is to set precedent that you can't just destroy a game. It's kind of giving, to me, it's the idea of trying to give the player back some agency in the stuff that they own. Get away from this idea of you'll own nothing and like it. And while I don't know that the initiative is saying it the right way, or I don't know the path to getting to that, you know, strumming up a conversation where developers and gamers and the government talks about how this could work seems like an idea. And this is coming from a libertarian that hates getting government into most things.
So why did this start in the first place? What is the specific cases they've called out that are egregious? And they have one. It's The Crew. So action on The Crew. The video game The Crew, published by Uber.
I also think The Crew was a bad example. I don't know that if it was the right game. Like, it was popular when they started the movement and it hit the news, but I don't know if it was like the right game to represent what was going on. I mean, there's a bunch of other games they've mentioned since then, but that's always kind of been the the crux, right? That's what people have seen.
Ubisoft was recently destroyed for all players and had a player base of at least 12 million people. Due to the game's size and France's strong consumer protection laws, this represents one of the best opportunities to hold a publisher accountable for this action. If we're successful in charges being pressed against Ubisoft, this can have a ripple effect on the video games industry to prevent publishers from destroying more games. First off, I don't like the idea in this that it has a player base of 12 million people. That is not how long-running games work. There is a large number of people that buy the game, and that player base slowly dwindles off until nobody is playing it anymore. If there's any costs associated with keeping the game online, which this was an online video game, then eventually it costs more to keep it online than it does to keep running it, right? So the cost outweighs the amount of income for it. There are bad business practices that can occur in there. There are companies that will sell a online-only game as a single-player experience and kind of just put it into the TOS and hide it. But not all companies do that. When they do, we should be calling out that specific company, not all companies. So let's take a look at this and find out more about the crew itself.
So, yes, player bases can dwindle off, but you know what also can happen? Player bases can sprout back up. People can be like, man, I want to go back and play the crew, and there's still, a player base for it. I think there's the original, the first Star Wars MMO that came out is no longer, being paid for or by the company that put it out there. I don't even know if the company that made it still exists, but I'm pretty sure there are servers you can go to play it because there are these gamers that fall in love with one particular game and will play it almost their entire life. Like, this isn't something that doesn't happen. You see it all the time in the live service industry, where people will, if they're able to get a hold of something that allows them to make a server and play it, they will play it.
And if we pull up their Wikipedia, we can see that the crew was actually created in 2014, which, much to the hatred of all of us oldies on the internet, was 10 years ago. Oh. So this was an online-only racing video game developed by Ubisoft Ivory Tower and Ubisoft Reflections and published by Ubisoft. So all Ubisoft, right? With that in mind, it said it was a scaled-down recreation of the contiguous United States and included both role-playing and large-scale multiplayer elements. So it had a massive multiplayer component to it. It is an online-only service-based game, and they shut it down 10 years later. On March 31st, 2024, Ubisoft shut down the game's servers, rendering the game unplayable, which is normal for live service games. The only thing that
it's normal, but it's not consumer friendly because people paid for cars and paid for all sorts of things around it. So they lost access to all of that, all because the servers were shut down.
That I can see in here that could be a problem is if they posted as not an online-only experience. But everything that I found online shows that the game was always marketed as online only. If you're going to be buying an online-only game, that means it can only run when it's online. And if the servers need to shut down in the future, far in the future, it makes sense to me for the access to that game to be cut if it's online only. If it's a single-player experience.
So people aren't allowed to have their own servers and play the game. People can't spend their own money and playing in the servers, spend their own time to patch the game and make it better. Just the company is allowed to destroy it.
Experience that has online-only functionality specifically just to shut down the game in the future, and the online-only doesn't actually add any gameplay functionality, I'd agree with you. That's a shitty business practice, but that's really rare. And in the specific cases where it does happen, we should...
See, this comes down to, like, he's still not understanding what people have a problem with in the game, right? He's still not understanding that this is, this is the original one of him not understanding, but he acts like putting this up here means that we will understand his motive wrong when he's still just, it's him saying the wrong shit already, and he just doubled down on saying the wrong shit.
Call
it a 2.5,
not just all games and not
or
all
1.5.
There's more context to this too. The Crew itself came out in 2014, but it actually had a sequel that came out in 2018, and then it had another sequel that came out in 2023. And if we go to the Crew's SteamDB, which again is not going to be all of the player base for this, it's only going to show the ones who were playing it through Steam. It was on multiple platforms, and we look at the max here. It did start out with a sizable amount of community, and then it degraded, and it had a major drop-off in 2018, which is the same year that it launched a sequel. This is normal. When a sequel comes out, a lot of the player base, if the sequel doesn't suck, will move over to it, and then the servers effectively die. You can't run a live service game on this few players. You can't, most of the time, especially not if there's anything else that goes into it. And if we go into that anything else, and we can see that there was license problems. So on December 14th, 2023, Ubisoft delisted The Crew and its expansions from digital platforms, suspended sales of microtransactions, and announced that the game's servers would shut down on March 31st. So they gave them 3 months. Usually I would say, hey, 6 months is probably a better deal, but if they're going to do 3 months, they're going to do 3 months. The only thing that I'd be interested outside of that is if there was a contractual obligation to do more than 3 months and they didn't follow it, if it was in the terms of service or not. Citing upcoming server infrastructure and licensing constraints. What were those licensing constraints? Well, it turns out that all of the cars in the game were licensed from the car companies, and a 10-year running game likely means that they had license to them for 10 years, and that means that it would likely...
And this is where I think there may have been a bad example for this, because like how that's an even more complicated issue with like what do you do in this situation where the things are licensed? Technically, if the game's shut down and it's a server side of it, no one should be making any money off of it. No one's saying that these companies should be able to, or that individuals should be able to profit off of it. But how do you decide in that one, where a better example would be something more, a different MMO would be a better example.
Reopen for negotiation. Now, I understand that's speculation, but I've seen this type of a deal many times in the industry while I've been working in it. So it's not unlikely. If you're going to have to renegotiate on a game that has so few players and is not turning a profit anymore, you're probably just going to forgo the renegotiation. And if those servers are aging, you're not going to want to recreate that infrastructure. And there are some people that'll say, well, just make it all single player. Well, I've explained that that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're
But people aren't saying make it all single player. This is fucking disingenuous.
making it all single player, you'd have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. When you already have sequels out and the game has basically no players left anyway, it makes more sense to just move on. I don't find that to be a problem from the developer perspective, and I understand that people find that to be a problem from the player perspective. These are two different ideologies, and that's okay to have two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it because I understand the burden that puts if we raise that problem in the way that we are right now. If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them. And we're going to miss out on adventures like Final Fantasy XIV, and even though I don't play anymore, League of Legends, or any other.
No, what's going to happen is with Final Fantasy XIV, when it's no longer profitable after people have put thousands and thousands of dollars into it, it's just going to get shut down and no one's ever going to get to play it again, right? It's gone forever because no one's going to be able to open up a live service unless someone, pirates the code and makes their own servers off of it, which we've seen some companies will actually go in even on games that they're no longer have open, and they will actively take them down. And I get it, it's pirating, so it's illegal, but are the people making money off of it? Are they selling that copy? No, they're usually paying for a server and bringing like-minded individuals in to play on those servers.
Live service game, any of them. You're talking everything, like even phone games, as funny as that is. A lot of people don't realize that phone games require online-only activity. What about things like Pokemon Go? What about stuff like Monster Hunter Now? What about any of these? We'd never get any of them. And that's why I think this needs to not be vague. It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem. So now we're going to go to Ross, otherwise known as Accursed Farms, the creator of this initiative, and one of the ones that's pushing it the most online. I'm going to let him say exactly why he thinks that this will go through very easily and why it is important, and then I'm going to tell you why I don't agree with it.
Becomes law in the EU? Yeah, it might be. Now, it's not a guarantee, but I think if we get the signatures, this passes. Why do I say that? Well, it's a few factors. Politicians like easy wins, and this doesn't require them to do much at all. And unless it involves gambling or protecting children, politicians generally don't care about video games. So this isn't of big consequence to them or most of their constituency.
I'm going to speed this up a little bit because really the idea of this is not like we've already heard the arguments against this, right? But what I want to notice is how so far we haven't seen the scene where he says that fuck this guy, the car salesman. All of this stuff strangely seems to be missing from this section. So let's speed it up to 2, see if we can hear anything else. So let's do 1.75.
Legislation will go through, but the politicians don't care about a multi-billion-dollar global industry, and that it doesn't matter their constituencies is incredibly absurd to me. I don't think this is the right direction at all for a movement like this. I think it's incredibly damaging, and it makes our entire industry look bad, both on the player side and the developer side. If we're going to be putting forward anything that may eventually turn to legislation, it should be passing because it's the right thing to do for consumers and developers, and that there's some kind of a middle ground, not just because it's an easy win and politicians don't care. This sets us off on a completely wrong foot.
EU law is already unclear on a lot of this practice anyway.
And that's
There's another cut.
If we're going to be setting precedent, which could change the way that law works all the way down the road, then we need to be sending the right message, which this is sending a vague message that doesn't cover the actual problem. So this is not a win to me. This is a huge risk.
And we would be making it easy for them to settle it. It falls in line with other consumer practices. You know, how when you buy something, you're generally allowed to keep it?
In the case of live service games, in the terms of service for those, you are not buying the game. You're buying a license to the game. And that's the part that's really different here. If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms. But if we're into this weird idea that we need to get rid of all live service games or damage that practice in any way to keep in line with consumer policies, it is in line with consumer policies. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be there in the first place. So this doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. You're not buying the game, you're buying a license to the game. In the niche cases where a studio is trying to sell a game as if you are buying it or purchasing it or using that language specifically and they give you a live service game instead, I agree that should change. That language should change. You are not purchasing the game, you're not buying the game, you are paying to have a license to a live service experience. I get that. Is that what this is doing though? The initiative is not trying to call that out specifically. It's trying to say that all games need to stay in a functional, playable state, which is not calling out the language.
You notice how much more polite this seems? It's all the soft times when he's talking about it. He's still saying the same wrong shit, but it's missing a lot of the stuff that was pointed out in Ross's video, right? It's so fucking snaky and disingenuous to post it this way. Like he's completely cutting out what happened in the stream itself and how he said, like, we're not even getting the portion that says, I'm not going to support this and I'm going to actively go against it. He's not showing where he says he's a car salesman. He's not showing the other stuff where he had negative connotations. And like, just fucking own it and say it, right?
That is being used to manipulate the player. Call that out specifically, not this fake bullshit.
And finally, this is a diversion from really serious topics that politicians would prefer not to deal with.
That's really gross to me as well. The idea that this is just a diversion from serious topics and they can get an easy win in and we can just push it through and there won't be a lot of pushback on it and they're not gonna have to think about it too hard. That's crazy dangerous, dude. If you're gonna be setting precedent, if you're gonna be putting forward something that you want to start a conversation to eventually become legislation, and these are the reasons for it, not only can I not agree with the initiative, but I can't agree with you. And I think that the tactics that you're using here are really disgusting. So yes, I won't agree with that, and I won't agree with Ross. There's no way around that. I think this is gross. To sum it all up, no, I will not be supporting the initiative. Stop.
Were there cuts right there? Hold on. Maybe that was just me, and I'm not very good at seeing these things. Let's go back.
Disgusting. So yes, I won't agree with that, and I won't agree with Ross. There's no way around that. I think this is gross.
There are cuts. He's cutting shit out of there.
To sum it all up, no, I will not be supporting the initiative Stop Killing Games. You're not going to change my mind on it because I find this language to be incredibly vague and damaging to the rest of our industry. I think that it would be bad for both developers and players.
That is so... This fucking snake, this fucking... That is so What was in between there, fucking Thor? What did you have that you said that you didn't want to be in here?
Written. And I think that starting a conversation that doesn't get to the core of the issue is both wasted time and leads to potentially bad outcomes. So if we want to talk about this, let's talk about the actual bad business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the game or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that.
Yeah, it's 100% damage control.
Go away. A player should be well informed at the point of purchase that they are purchasing a license, not buying a game. And the reason that we have those licenses in the case of client-server interactions like we had before, we're talking about client-server games, is so that they can ban you when you cheat at them. They revoke your license. That's why they revoke your license, to protect the gameplay of every other player that you're impacting when you cheat at these games. That needs to exist, but it needs to be better informed to the player at time of purchase. So I agree on that. This doesn't bring that up though. It just attacks all video games that have online-only components and says that they need to keep being able to be played indefinitely. That doesn't make any sense to me. Aside from that, a lot of people really like live service games.
There's so many fucking cuts in this.
As they exist now.
Like, okay, I understand cutting up a live stream so that you get some of the bullshit out of there. I got that, right? But this feels like disingenuous fucking cuts to hide what he was actually saying in the show and to make himself look more polite. These are emotional arguments against... Listen here, bud. I'm almost fucking done with you.
Trying to kill off all live service games, as some people say online, doesn't make any sense either. Live service games are a great way to get away.
It wasn't a live stream cut. He went into YouTube Studio.
Some people met their spouse in them and then got married to them. It's a really cool thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
having that social experience.
It was from his live stream, though, is what I'm saying. Like, I understand. Like, I clip up my channel, and while I'm super lazy about it, what I want to start doing is going in there and cutting out the parts where I get derailed in different situations like that. But this, he's went into studios and he's clipped out all the fucking parts. Or even this is a separate video, so he may not have done it in studios. Well, I see what you're saying. Let me rephrase. Yeah, he went in after this video came out, or after the heat came back on, went into studios and started clipping out the bad parts. That's what I said you're saying. Good, I have 10 minutes before I have to get on myself. That's all right. That's all right.
That just because you don't like them is very weird.
All right, I'm done with this. It's pretty clear he's clipping it to make it look a certain way. And then I don't need the proof. I don't give a fuck that he does minimum wage. And then this is just the same comment that we've already went before. So the next video we're going to get into, we'll go back into the corner so y'all can see my atrocious gameplay right now. Moist Critical finally came out and said something about it now, and it's not looking good for Pirate. So we'll watch this one and see how some of the other larger YouTubers are starting to change their opinion of ye old Pirate.
This is right here, pal. I'm a tough guy. You feeling lucky? Yeah, that's right. Spirit fingers. Do you know why? Because it's been about 30 hours since I last.
Yes, we're doing some Moist Critical.
Crashed and burned, and I'm off my board, so now I'm going wacko mode. But even in my sleep-deprived state, I am still lucid enough to recognize how cattywampus the AAA gaming space has become. Like, the gaming industry has so many things that I have bitched and moaned about. Probably the biggest practice that I've been most vocal about, not exactly shy on, is the topic of you will own nothing and be happy. The Ubisoft motto. God rest that company's soul. What a pile of dog shit. But it's not just Ubisoft. That has become a...
I'm about to put Chan on the ban list, Vincent.
strategy across the gaming industry. You will own nothing. You will be happy. You're basically... You come away with the idea of ownership of whatever games you purchase. I've worn this topic out more than a fleshlight in a frat house, but it is something I am very passionate about. The gaming industry is getting away with more and more garbage where they'll take a shit in your mouth and you're expected to thank them for adding some flavor to your taste buds. It's terrible. And there is an initiative that has been aiming to fight back against a lot of these practices that I think really need some...
Did Moist never talked about the first one? I guess that's the thing he was saying. So is he gonna talk about it now?
Big overhaul. And it's an initiative that I think a lot of you are probably very familiar with. It's called Stop Killing Games. And I've followed it since its inception. I've talked about it on stream quite a few times, though this is my first video
second round
over it. And I regret that now because I see it wasn't going as well as I thought it was. Admittedly, I didn't follow how successful the initiative was, only that it was aiming to do good for consumers, and that it was taking proper steps legally to get there, and it was going through all of the right channels. And now today I watched a video from the guy that's spearheading this. His name is Ross. He posted a video called The End of Stop Killing Games, where he's giving an update on where everything's at and how it's kind of at the finish line here with a lot of failure to...
Yeah, I mean, that's just, he's just kind of a guy. He's a silly guy, right? But
show for it with only a few chances to fight back. Now, before getting into the weeds on the topic, I want to get this in the beginning because I imagine the vast majority of people won't watch the whole thing. I'm putting a link to the full video on Stop Killing Games, as well as a link to where you'd go to help support the Stop Killing Games initiative, because there's only a little bit of time left for the most important parts of it now that it's at the end. So if you know what the movement is and want to support it but didn't know where, the resources are in the description, or if you want to get it right from like the source, I have a link to his video. But I want to go into it myself here because it is a topic that I do feel very strongly about. But for those that don't know anything about Stop Killing Games, I'm going to let him explain it in his own words, so that way you can get an actual, correct, informed explanation of what the initiative is. And the reason I say it like that, kind of like fucking all, peeking out, snooty, is because a lot of people don't even really know what this is because of people like Pirate Software.
Yeah, Moist is very much the king of slop.
Completely misrepresenting what the initiative was.
As a refresher, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement to stop publishers from effectively destroying video games they have already sold to customers.
I'll pause right there. The simplest, bare bones, birthday suit, butt-ass naked explanation for what this is. Stop destroying things that people have paid money to own. I think that is a very understandable, very reasonable take, very agreeable. Now I want to quickly jump to a different spot in this video because I think it's important to have this in the beginning because it's something a lot of people have heard that comes from someone that is just wrong about it. It's the Pirate Software portion. Ross is addressing the video Pirate Software made many months ago. Ross even says that he didn't plan on doing that because he didn't want to be seen as using this for drama farming, because it would start to make the movement look less of like a legitimate initiative and more of just like drama slop content type thing. But he finally starts talking about Pirate Software here because it's at the end of the life cycle of this initiative and it's not looking promising, so he's willing to do anything to try and set the record straight and hopefully start getting more momentum back to the movement. Because
yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be enough movement for this to really do anything. But I mean, it's seen 100,000. Maybe it'll see more, but I think it's going to fail because of its location. I think, while I don't think Pirate Software is the main thing that killed the game, it's definitely part of it, right?
Because the damage Pirate Software did to it through his video was substantial.
This video came out right as we were building momentum. Then, except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically, we don't want single-player games to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them. And as much as they want it to be about specifically games, where it is a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists, instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff from earlier, and he was mostly talking about the initiative.
He didn't even get the Cliff Notes summary right. He missed all the QTEs and got the bad ending on understanding the initiative from the jump here. Ross is correct. This has...
I'll tell you what, I feel very happy to see other people shitting on Pirate Software now. It makes me very happy indeed.
It's nothing to do with just single-player only games that require an online connection, that when the online connection is severed, you lose access to the game. Like, yeah, that is included in all of this, but that's not, like, what the whole movement is about. And for some reason, Pirate Software is stun-locked on that, like, fixated, as if that is the actual, like, meat and potatoes of Stop Killing Games. They need to be more specific in their language about it being single-player, always online connectivity games. When that's just not what it's about. Like, they're not being specific about that because that is not what they're specifically targeting. It is about the whole practice of destroying games that consumers have already purchased and having no end-of-life plans for games that are being sunset. So, for example, The Crew. The Crew is an example everyone is going to reference and talk about because Ubisoft is still currently in a lawsuit battling against it for what happened with this game. I've yapped about it quite a bit, so I'm not just going to regurgitate that. I'm sure a lot of you already know the story about it. But basically, you buy The Crew, Ubisoft pulls the plug on the servers, you can't play The Crew anymore, now it's just an old wet dream of what once was. And they are facing a lawsuit, and while this is in the umbrella of Stop Killing Games, it is not the only thing Stop Killing Games is referencing when it comes to this practice. Pirate Software is so hung up on it being single-player games that people lose access to, when that is a component of it, but not the entire focus.
Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they've sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their support. So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think this is about converting multiplayer games to single-player.
Transitioning an entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single-player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game. That's what they're asking for.
No.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player offline? No, dude.
Correct. No.
This part is more confusing than Finnegan's Wake. Because nowhere in anything on Stop Killing Games has this even been like a talking point from anyone besides Pirate Software. I don't know where he pieced this puzzle together. Like I don't get it. Like, if I'm gonna try and like, really reach here and give like a charitable
out of his ass,
maybe
people need to stop giving Pirate Software a charitable fucking take. They just need to go into them. Like, this is repeated patterns of behavior from this guy at this point. We all know he's a piece of garbage. We all know he's a Nepo baby. We all know that he's a fake nice guy that can't be wrong. You know, people just need to start going into him and stop being fucking soft.
He's extrapolating based on the idea that if publishers have to have end-of-life plans for their games, that includes MMOs, where once the game is getting sunset, you're pulling the plug on it, you would then need to turn the game over to the community in a playable state, an accessible state, like give the code to them. Thus, it turned it into a single-player experience, so the onus would be on the developers to rebalance their game to be a single-player experience for them. I guess. I have no idea. That still just doesn't make any sense, but maybe that's the tree he's barking up with that thought process. I really don't know, because Stop Killing Games at no point ever says any of these multiplayer games need to be converted to single player. That really is outlandish. And the more I think about it, like, the more nonsensical it becomes, because even in Pirate Software's hypothetical fanfic there, why would the developers need to rebalance the game? They would just turn over the code to the community and just it'd be in that state. They're no longer responsible for balancing the game. That's the whole point. They're not indefinitely
I'm sure some of these idiots, someone used these examples, but I've delayed long. Have fun. All right, brother. Enjoy your stream. Upper Echelon made a video surprisingly playing devil's advocate for him. Yeah, I've heard about it. I heard it's pretty misinformed to what was being said, but I want to watch it for myself. I may not watch it today. This may be the last video I watch. I have to go get some stuff taken care of, but I will pick this up back tomorrow after Charlie's video here.
Porting it, they would just be responsible of leaving the game in an accessible state to the community while they would shut down the servers on their end. Like, they wouldn't need to go back through with a whole development team and, like, you know, tweak the game to be single player compatible. It just doesn't make sense. Like, I really do not understand that one. But apparently a lot of people latched onto that talking point from Pirate Software as something that Stop Killing Games was asking for and how unreasonable it was. Which, if that's what Stop Killing Games was asking for, it would be unreasonable. But that's not what it's asking for.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it will impact.
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that statement. It's almost as if that's not what the initiative is asking for.
I know this part is once again just reinforcing that he doesn't know what the Stop Killing Games movement is about, but I have to just show you this because it is so fascinating, because he himself literally calls out that Stop Killing Games at no point explicitly mentions single-player always online games or anything like that. And for some reason, instead of following the breadcrumbs that would naturally lead him to the conclusion of, oh, maybe I misunderstood, maybe because it's absent here, that's not what this is actually about. Instead, he uses it as a criticism against the Stop Killing Games initiative entirely, saying it's just too vague, it's way too vague. The reason it is not explicitly stated there is because that is not what the whole initiative is about. It is not specifically targeting that thing that you keep saying that it is. I don't know how that never clicked.
But those were his streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had time to research?
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single-player experience, and then taking away support in the future...
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single-player games are advertised. What is he doing?
It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat.
So it's kind of like, hearing Pirate's statements over and over and over fucking again. It really is just like word salad. Like, he doesn't have a clear, concise point. It's bad here, it's bad over here. He used it a lot of his personal experience that happened with his review of Doom 2016, and it just reeks of appeasing to emotions. I think that's part of his whole craft. Like, he does word salad. He sounds smart when he says it, but he actually has no idea what he's saying.
Which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
This is a really strong section from Ross here, because the clips that you saw moments ago were from his stream. When he took more time to watch it and digest it, he still came back in that video misrepresenting it. Like, it never dawned on him. Like, on stream he could write it off as like, oh, he didn't grasp it in the moment, maybe later on he did. Well, then he made the video where he still was talking about things that are just not what Stop Killing Games was about, and this was the one that really blew up and really started to kind of dismantle the Stop Killing Games momentum.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting a new thing wrong now. We're not against them existing, we're against them being destroyed with no recourse for the customer.
Pirate Software then goes on to talk about, like, the business practice of misleading consumers into thinking that what they're buying is a product as opposed to a license to a product.
I mean, if anything, Pirate Software knows how to mislead people, so he is kind of the expert on that.
Which is a totally separate thing, and then he criticizes Stop Killing Games for not being specific about that thing that he is bringing up, as opposed to what Stop...
You're talking about Upper Echelon uses a lot of his personal experience that happened with his review of Doom 2016. Gotcha. I see what you're saying. I want to listen to it. I like a lot of Upper Echelon stuff, so hearing that he had like a bad take about it is strange to me. But we'll get to it. It'll probably be on tomorrow's stream. I'll finish up the pirate stuff and see what else we can find. Maybe watch a few crazy videos that I like to watch.
Stop Killing Games is talking about, so he's using that against them for some reason. And then Ross goes into, like, the license talk.
Our problem is not with licenses failing to inform people. Blizzard says they can take away your purchase for no reason. That sounds pretty clear to me. Our problem is those terms are so hostile to consumers and the medium that they should be taken off the table entirely. This needs regulation. Forget video games. If you look at basic commerce for hundreds of years, when you paid money, you either got to keep what you paid for, or if it was a service, you were told when your access ends. The vast majority of online-only games do neither of those.
He's exactly right. That is a huge problem. Now, Pirate Software is correct here about these companies that will mislead consumers through this fraudulent advertising on what you're actually buying, because in a lot of cases, you don't own any of the shit that you're buying. It is pretty much a rental. You get a permission slip to access the content. That is an issue, and not making it abundantly clear to consumers that that was your that is what you are buying is a problem. And so too is the actual agreements, as Ross demonstrates with Blizzard, where it says they can just completely terminate it for no reason at all. It really does go against the basic idea of commerce entirely. Video games are in a totally different ball game when it comes to that, because half the time you don't realize that you're just buying an admission ticket to a game. You're not actually buying the game. You also don't know how long that's going to last. Again, to go back to Concord, that shit lasted less than a fucking, fucking rainstorm, basically. Like, there is just so many problems. So
I heard the take through commentary guys too, that just dislike Pirate Software like I do. So we'll say that they were biased in hearing about it.
Why Pirate Software would be so harsh on Stop Killing Games for not addressing specific things that he himself is bringing up or making up in regards to it. It just doesn't compute. It really is a video that did significant damage to an actually positive initiative that aimed to help consumers in the video game space. All based on his complete misrepresentation of it, which was a complete mess.
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Oh no! He wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't do that in big letters. That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out.
That's the last clip I want to show from this section on the Pirate Software video, but it's a very important one.
Well, to be fair, most of those people are probably just pirate fans parroting his same dog shit talking points.
Because this is something a lot of people also think the Stop Killing Games initiative is about, where developers, publishers will have to support their games forever. Like, until the fucking heat death of the universe, they'll have to support these games under the initiative. When that is not the case. It is very simply asking that when the game has reached the end of its life cycle, the publishers, developers don't want to work on it any longer, to turn it over to the community to still be in a playable, accessible state so the product can still exist. There is some more nuance, obviously, to how that works, given, like, publisher developer licensing and a lot of like the code, the binary, that kind of thing. There is a lot at play under the hood there, of course, but it is something that Stop Killing Games isn't naive to, and it is something that is talked about. But I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I encourage you to check more in on it. But this whole belief that it is about endlessly supporting a live service game, even when it makes no sense to do so and it's beyond dead and in the dirt, is ridiculous, because that is not what it is asking for. And a lot of people think that it is. It's not. Pirate Software got that wrong as well. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about it, but as mentioned in the beginning, most of Stop Killing Games hasn't been successful in getting change. And Ross has dedicated so much of his life to this, and it's clearly taken a big toll. Now he's doing everything he can for this last-ditch push to try and help. And there are two big things coming up that can do so. And it's what I linked at the very beginning of the at the very beginning of the video about the resources in the description. It's in regards to this.
One is for the UK to sign a government petition to bring this issue before Parliament. Though keeping it real, I'm not terribly optimistic about this one, since the government response has been a mess by every definition. But the one that has a lot of power, so much so I think it could change the course of gaming history, is the European Citizens Initiative. Now, I said I'm approaching this like a time traveler because with the trajectory we're on, these are both going to fail. Again, this one is crazy powerful, but the hurdle we just couldn't get past was that it requires 1 million signatures from citizens of EU countries, and we've only made it just under halfway. What a lot of people don't realize is that in the EU especially, it's almost a state of lawlessness regarding the practice of game destruction, is that the vast majority of games with an online requirement say they can be terminated at any time for any reason. Or Blizzard likes to say any or no reason. But according to the EU Commission, that might be a violation of Directive 93/13 EEC, which protects consumers against unfair terms in consumer contracts. So if that term is unfair, that means that part of the contract is null and void.
He goes on to explain how powerful that can be because of what a mess that is. Because there is so much gray area with how the video games currently operate in regards to those protections, it would be a legal headache that would require an analysis of the laws or implementation of new laws that could lead to, hopefully, an improvement when it comes to gaming. So the big hurdle was the signatures, needing 1 million, and currently it's at like 400.
So this wasn't the...
doesn't reach the threshold. I've been very vocal from the very beginning about how little faith I have in petitions, but that's just from the perspective of an American. In America, petitions are more worthless than toilet paper. You're better off just writing what you want on a note to Santa Claus and shipping it to the North Pole than you are doing anything with a petition in this country. I don't know how different it is in the EU. Maybe it really is this powerful there that could lead to substantial change and improvement when it comes to games and preservation and all of what we've already talked about. Hopefully, I mean, that's really all that's left for the Stop Killing Games.
So that's pretty much him talking about it. I think we could have probably gone without it. Moist Critical talking about it. The next one we're going to watch tomorrow.
Most of you have noticed over the last 11 months.
Will be the Pirate Software situation video for it. Because I think this is where he talks about his conversation with Pirate Software and Josh. So I think this one's going to dig in on a little bit more, but I think we have a pretty good idea at what's going on with the initiative, what Pirate believes and what's actually true. It's funny seeing how people run defense for Pirate because he has some sway in some industries, unlike Grums, that only the anti-wokes run defense for. Well, Grums, I think, ruined his contacts in the industry. I don't believe that he has any contacts in the industry. I think he just puts up a facade and says because he was a developer, he has friends, because I think he's absolutely burned every bridge he's got. But anyways, I'm gonna have to cut it short today. We'll pick it back up tomorrow. We'll watch this video talking about Pirate Software situation. I've also got some people putting up evidence that Pirate Software is deleting some of the more negative prospects of it. So we'll be looking into that too and see if anything else comes up over the course of tomorrow to make this even more fun. So thank everybody for coming. If you haven't done it already, like the stream. If you want to subscribe. We'll be here tomorrow, same time, 8 Central Time. So y'all have a good night, guys.